Tyrus dungeon. It is with him that the story begins. And the deeper it got, the more everything was swallowed up in darkness. A battle fueled by desperation was already at hand. Just at this moment, various sounds were coming from the depths of the dungeon. The undead lord, the demon lich, was already fully armed. The undead of this strongest type of monsters that our heroes had to fight. Standing in front of him, they were ready for this. The undead at this moment offered their minion to come out to attack the opponents. The guys saw that their opponent in the form of a lich was summoning monsters one by one, and there was no end to them, so they did not know what to do. The girl turned to the princess, and she explained that if they wanted to attack him, they had to continue the onslaught. With her black curly hair blowing in the wind, she continues to fight with desperation, as if this is the last battle. And her name is Yuika, the Black Princess. At that moment, the girl jumped up from her seat and took up her weapon, bravely ran at the lich and tried to attack him, offering to taste her blade. She was unwavering and knew that she could defeat the opponent. Dungeon Sherpa, a specialized class that helps carry adventurers' luggage and is their guide on the way to explore and capture the dungeon. That's how the first dive began. 20 days ago, in the dungeon of Tyros at a depth of 20 floors, some of the adventurers who came there realized that they couldn't waste any more time. They were supposed to attack their opponents together, who stood up against them. Using their powers, the guys decided to try to attack them with all their might, but one of their opponents escaped. As the magician said, he did not understand what the tanks were doing, hinting at his comrade that he was not working well. The young man was clearly unhappy with the way things were going for the team. At that moment, one of their opponents tried to attack to strike, but the young man struck with lightning. The next moment, they won. The guys were in an underground oasis and cursed everything in the world. One of them was resting, and the other team members were sitting nearby. Also, one of them was drinking potions, and his partner didn't realize how much the guy had already drunk mana potions, and it was such a waste of it. To which the young man finished the potion, explained that there was nothing he could do about it. This vanguard was useless, the magician noticed, looking at his comrade. The person standing next to him did not understand what his partner was carrying. Then the magician suggested that he remember what had just happened. The man who ran straight to them with his things did not understand if they were starting to quarrel again. He hoped that everything would be fine if they didn't separate them, the runner shouted to the rest of the team. One of them, who was lying on the ground, suggested to him that if he wanted to, he could do it himself. At that moment, all the team members were watching closely as they began to quarrel and sort things out. One of the team members added that he was too tired to get involved in this showdown. The young man, sighing heavily, realized that there was nothing he could do about it, and, approaching the two who were quarreling, he asked them to listen. It was very dangerous to shout like that. In front of them was a dungeon Sherpa named Ro. The young man, smiling at everyone else, explained that the monsters could hear them. When they heard that he had interfered in their conversation, they began to quarrel. One of them did not remember seeing him during the fight and was trying to figure out where the young man was because this damn Sherpa was in front of them. To which the guy just smiled. Smiling as broadly as possible, he simply added that he had gone to collect some valuable herbs. After hearing about it, one of them, of course, did not understand. Isn't it cool to be a Sherpa? He didn't have to fight monsters, and it was a very easy way to earn money. The magician, who was being held by his clothes, explained that there would be a problem if they were injured now, so he asked the vanguard to calm down in order to end this quarrel. Then the Sherpa added that if they ran out of potions, he could give them a couple. At that moment, he put everything on the ground in front of the guys, explaining that none of them had been diluted with water, so all were of high quality. Upon hearing this, everyone was very surprised. Then they realized that it was a healing potion. It will repair their wounds, the young man added, and this recovery potion is the best choice for replenishing fatigue. Then the guys were even more surprised that the guy even has power potions. Then the magician realized that they probably weren't free. The Sherpa, showing the guys the paper, explained that this was the price list. After looking at the prices, they realized that these prices were 2 times higher than the market prices and were very surprised by this. Then the vanguard, having seized Sherpa Ro, did not understand if he was mocking them, because he was absolutely breeding them now. But the young man decided to inform them that it was quite cheap for a dungeon and asked his partner, who had already grabbed him by the breasts, to calm down. The young man also added that if they decide not to return to the surface now, they will not be able to avoid clashes with monsters. If that happens, their equipment will be ruined. they will have to pay an even higher price. Therefore, Ro added that if the guys buy from him, it will save them time and money. Gushing at the Sherpa, one of the adventurers explained that this victory was for him, or they would all die, the vanguard concluded. Meanwhile, the guys realized that they didn't even have enough stamina to climb to the surface, and it wasn't the best news to begin with. The Sherpa apologized to the team, but the price is not negotiated. It's the type of thing that just doesn't sell on the market because it's great for high-level adventurers. Then it was the guys who suggested to the leader to buy it as high-level adventurers. They had to use high-level items. Upon hearing this, Vanguard was surprised that the guys agreed, and his partner asked him to stop behaving like a barbarian. It wasn't worth it. Addressing the guy, the leader, releasing his scarf, explained that this time he would get away with it, but he would not hire him again in his life. Then the young man, smiling, thanked him for his cooperation. After that, they all headed back to the city together, the city of Tyrus. This city was built right after Tyrus's dungeon was found. This is a city of adventurers. And our hero returned to the Sherpa Guild at that moment. Creaking the door, he entered and saw how the man sitting at the counter greeted him. When she saw Ro, she also greeted him. Our hero, referring to the old purse, added that he was at home. The woman, looking at him and smoking her cigarette, was interested in his cooperation with a violent gang. Then the young man added that everything was as she said. They are all seasoned adventurers. They are violent, as they are called. In terms of strength, they are pretty well balanced. And for some reason it seemed to him that they would be able to hold out there for a long time. But at that moment, the young man added that, however, they said they would not hire him anymore. Then the woman added that he was already 3, and she thought if he couldn't handle baby Ro, it would be useless to hire others. Our hero, heading for the door, added that he would hand in the report tomorrow. He needed to pick up his younger sister. When she heard about her younger sister, the woman added that he had left her to her relatives again, and they had a very difficult time. Our hero added that this was so, and said that with these words he was leaving, because he needed to hurry up. So our hero went after his sister. Arriving at the house, the young man saw Marie sitting alone on the porch. The girl, when she saw her brother, was so happy and began to smile. And then she rushed into his arms, and our hero also greeted her. At that moment, the door opened and the man heard that Ro had returned. Someone appeared from the door, and our hero greeted Moreau-san and thanked her for always taking care of Marie. At that moment, the man held out his hands. Our hero, handing over the coin, explained that he would let her know if he needed her help. The next moment, as soon as he handed over the money, the door immediately slammed shut. And of course he didn't know if this woman was shy or what, but she wasn't cute at all. But deciding that it was not so important, our hero, looking at the doors, explained that he and his sister had to go home. The girl just silently looked at the door and followed her brother. While they were walking home, our hero decided to pack lunch and go on a picnic in the woods. The girl decided that they were probably going to collect the fruits of Gazi. Our hero added that this was so because it was already harvest season, so he suggested collecting a little and making a lot of jam. The girl was very happy because they had not gone on a picnic together for so long. Our hero, watching her, thought that Sherpa never fights monsters, but he never knew what could happen in the dungeon. And it's a risky job surrounded by danger. There's always a chance he won't come back. And his younger sister, who is only 4 years old, understands this. When they came to the house, our hero told us that they would have stew for dinner, and the girl immediately asked to let her help him. That's how they always took care of each other. The next day, the Sherpa Guild, where our hero went again, wished good morning. He walked through the door and said that he had brought a dive report. At that moment, when the door opened, a tall man appeared in front of him, saying that he was already expecting our hero. The man was so gigantic that it was even scary. The same one, addressing his beloved outstanding student, added that he had been waiting for him and asked to be allowed to tell him about the wonderful work that he had found. Our hero immediately closed the door, to which the man did not understand why he did it. Ro, looking at him, explained that when he smiled like that and spoke like that, it usually meant that he wanted to knit him for some difficult job. To which the man explained that he had asked him for many things, but this time it was different. They have a big shot here from the royal capital. When our hero heard about someone from the royal capital, he didn't say anything at first. And then, opening the door, he began to look suspiciously at the man, and he added that this was indeed the case. This time, the employer is a member of the famous group from the royal capital. When he finished saying this, a girl appeared from behind the door, and then the man added that it was a twilight sword. a beautiful stranger came out to him. After hearing about the Twilight Sword, she knew that it was the one that was rumored in the guild, and the man noticed that the young man guessed correctly. Twilight Sword, as it is known, they have cleared countless dungeons, and the most famous of them are the most difficult in terms of real strength. In the list of adventurer groups that are published once a month, they always occupy the top of the list. They are called Heroes of the East. Our hero also remembered that rumors said that their leader was a beautiful black-haired girl who had not been around for 22 years. Now he understood that this would be their order. Looking at the stranger, our hero thought about himself. Then the girl immediately introduced herself as Yuika. The girl said that she was aiming to clear the dungeon of Tyrus and asked for help in achieving this. To date, it is known that the dungeon of Tyrus extends 47 floors down. The maximum height the top floor can reach is 53. And in order to clear the entire dungeon, you have to get to and clear the last floor. At that moment, while our hero was talking about it, the woman who always sat at the reception came up and said his name. Now our hero has understood everything. That it was because guild leader Gunderson and former guild leader Gamma himself demanded that he do this, accompany the adventurers to the deepest and unexplored parts of the dungeon. That's exactly what our hero did. So they met. Rose, Dungeon Sherpa, Yuika's adventurer. This meeting marked a wonderful adventure. But they still didn't know what was really hiding at the very bottom of the dungeon, and that it was actually a real darkness. Our hero understood that he would have to lead a squad of heroes into the deepest part of the dungeon, and looking at the princess who stood in front of him, he just smiled. To think that it was a similar assignment, and that it was a great honor for the Sherpa of the dungeon. He smiled at the girl and thanked her, explaining that he was scared and therefore had to say no. Diving into unexplored parts, the dungeon, takes a lot of time. He couldn't have been away for such a long time. Then the woman who worked with him noticed that she could train his sister to be a Sherpa while he was away, laughing. Before our hero, of course, these were not jokes. What he said earlier, he was very unhappy. The woman, addressing baby Ro, added that he was saving money to take care of his sister, so he became a Sherpa, and, after all, this is a very profitable occupation in this city. Therefore, he should have been happy, because the reward this time is even more than he will receive during the year. And now, she thought he wouldn't have any objections to showing the papers. Looking at the papers, he realized that it was a dive plan. If he had received this award, then Marie would have been able to go to school. Besides, it won't be such a long dive until they completely clear the dungeon. They will only go on 3 short-term dives. That alone is enough for him to accept this offer. He had something to discuss. Then our hero explained that he had not seen any more inscribed groups besides them. The princess added that the Twilight Sword is a group that acts alone, at a time when it is commonplace for ordinary groups to go to unexplored places in the dungeon together. For them, other groups will be too slow, which in turn increases the risk of ambush by monsters. However, the Twilight Sword is a group of 4, and in the past, they have already cleared a lot of suitable dungeon fences. The Twilight Sword is a group that is strong enough to compete with several groups from the top league at once. This is how they have always acted and plan to act further, the girl added in the end. But our hero, looking at how serious she was, decided to take another look at the papers and said that he briefly got acquainted with the dive plan. He asked to be called Ro and agreed to accept the request. Upon hearing this, the girl calmly offered to call Yuika. Our hero, addressing her, could not wait to work with the girl. So they shook hands, and when she shook his hand, the girl smiled. Our hero saw this and was very surprised because it was unexpected for him. Then Yuika added that she would gladly have moved out at the same moment, but she needed to replenish her supplies of tools and potions, so she asked for advice on a good shop. Our hero realized that she probably wanted to go to a shop popular among adventurers, but the girl added that due to the fact that they are known in these circles, they have no passage in such places, so much so that you can't even take a deep breath. She would like to avoid all this today. Popularity is a real pain, our hero added. I thought to myself that it was not easy to be a celebrity. He had to clarify about the preparation of equipment, because this is a separate fee. She explained that it didn't matter and left everything to Ro. Then our hero decided to walk around the city with her and show her everything he knew. Together, they went to various shops, potion shops, and various herb shops. After that, they finally bought everything they needed. And then Yuika thanked the guy for it. The young man offered her to have dinner with him in return, and his little sister will be there too. The princess was not against it and agreed. When they came for our hero's sister, the girl confusedly introduced herself as Marinette and told them that she was 4 years old. Looking at her, the princess realized that she was still a baby, and when she saw the girl, she thought that it was probably his daughter. The young man explained that she was his sister, even though there was almost 20 years difference between them. Stroking her head, he told her that the girl could just call her Marie. Yuika sat down opposite Marie, greeted her, and introduced herself. She told me that she would be working with her brother. Our hero noticed that it was true. They would be diving together from tomorrow. To which Marie only looked at her brother in surprise and silently followed the guys. They came to the tavern to taste dinner, and when the food was placed on the table in front of them, they thanked them for waiting. Marie, handing over the appliances, said that it would be tastier this way. And then Yuika thanked the girl for her help. Our hero, watching this, realized that he had not seen Marie behave like this for a long time. He thought that when he decided to take Marie with him, it would be interesting, but he could not even think that the girls would get along well looking at them. The next moment, the man put the ale in front of them. Our hero thanked him. Then the princess realized that it must have been beer. And our hero said that it goes well with local food, offering her a mug. The girl added that even when she turned 16 and was allowed to drink, she had never tried alcohol before. And our hero decided then to order her juice. Marie was drinking juice at that moment, saying that she liked him very much. The princess was surprised that she was drinking the same thing as a small child. When Shepra decided to add that Marie also really likes it, the next moment the princess quickly raised her hand and ordered to bring her a mug of ale, after which she began to drink it, explaining that she was already 20 years old, and of course she could drink beer, after which she drank it in one gulp. Our hero, seeing that she did it, also added about it surprised. That girl proudly explained that of course she could and offered him too, but her speech was already beginning to be incoherent. The next moment, she almost blacked out. Our hero, seeing this, did not know what to do with the girl. Morning came. The birds were singing and daring with her hands. The girl finally started from the bed. Looking at the walls and the light entering the room, she realized that it was already morning, but it was unclear from here, and it was not like her room at all. Then she realized that she had a headache, and she remembered having dinner raw with his younger sister. The girl then got very drunk and began to climb Maria, talking about how cute she was, which surprised our hero, the girl herself. Putting Maria on her lap, she began stroking her head, believing that an angel had happened there, and offered to call her sister again. When she remembered this scene, the girl began to scream in horror, trying to figure out what she was doing with this bitter drink that it knocked out all her mind. Maria was so cute, so she tried to be a good sister. This is Maria's voice, and these are Rose things, as she realized, looking in front of her, and she guessed that she had been in their house. Leaving the room, but decided that in any case, I should have apologized for the inconvenience. Opening the door, she saw our hero wiping the plates. Amari helps him and wishes her a good morning. Marie also bowed and went up to the princess, wished her good morning. The princess cleared her throat and sat there too, thinking about how cute his sister was still. She sits down with her, apologized for yesterday's behavior, but thought that her actions were very uncomfortable for her. To which Maria looked at her sister even more awkwardly. Our hero added that everything was fine, because Marie would just run away if she felt uncomfortable. She sat so obediently on the princess's lap, but only because she really liked the princess, as the young man explained, offering to finally have breakfast. He offered Yoka to have breakfast too. There was no way she could accept his invitation. But then his sister joined the conversation, offering to eat together, and the princess immediately agreed. Then our princess added that we would have to pick up their gear with the terrorist guilds. It would be difficult for him to navigate alone, so she asked to be allowed to go with him. When the boys left the house, Marie said goodbye to them, wished her brother and sister a safe journey. The guys waved back at her and decided to head to the Adventurers Guild. And when they arrived, one of the team members was incredibly surprised that the princess got drunk on beer and stayed the night with this guy. A girl from their team tore her hair on her head, thinking that the princess went shopping with a guy and returned only the next morning, which made her very confused and hoped that there were no attacks. The princess said that there were no monsters in the city. Then the girl explained that she did not mean it. Our hero, standing behind her, confirmed that he would only let her rest at home. She just passed out in the shop and nothing more. Then the girl screamed at him, asked him to shut up such predators, and that he was fired. Our hero, looking at her strange reaction, only introduced himself as Ro and realized that she seemed to have misunderstood him. A girl named Barry stood up for the princess. The princess, looking at how she is furiously trying to protect her with tears in her eyes, asked Barry to calm down. After all, the guy was the Sherpa they hired, and our hero, looking at this, realized that it looked like the girl actually had a sister complex. At that moment, a young man with a distinctive sound appeared behind him and apologized, scaring our hero, but explained that since Yuika-sama became a black princess, Barry began to react sharply. The man in front of our hero introduced himself as Nuku and told us that he was a shortstop. Our hero, seeing him, also greeted him. Then another man appeared, flying over him, and realized that the young man in front of him in the person of our hero would be a good anchor. Looking at the one floating in the sky, our hero was wondering who it was, and the guy introduced himself as a Mazakan sage who uses magic to defend and attack. Upon hearing his name, our hero realized that he was the legendary adventurer who was named a hero for 3 different feats. When Barry heard that he was legendary, she just pouted, adding that he was just an old man who retired and came back again. Then Short added that Mr. Mazakan was Barry's father, it was said, by the way. Upon hearing this, our hero was even more surprised. He also added that he is over 60 years old, among them 4. He boasts the highest level. Our hero added that he looks very young, as if they were 30 years old, to which the man just smiled. The princess explained that she and Barry were warriors of light, and Barry added that she wasn't sure if the princess was sure that they wanted to take this guy with them. They needed to discuss what was in the dungeon then. But Barry asked the princess to stand and see her decision. They entered the dungeon and asked everyone to be careful. It was very slippery in it. This is a shortcut for adventurers of advanced level and above. This path will lead up to the 14th floor from the sea to a staircase that descended deep down in front of our heroes. Underground on the 14th floor, they reached the oasis. Their goal for today was to reach the 47th floor. Only on their 3 dives will they be able to reach the core of the dungeon, the princess concluded. She explained that the core of the dungeon is what produces the monsters of the dungeon. It will give them a huge amount of experience points. Clearing Tyrus's dungeon also raises their level a bit. Ro, Yuika believed, knew a shortcut to the next oasis, and wanted to know which floor they were on. Then our hero added that it was at 19. And it had to be borne in mind that they would encounter a huge number of different monsters on their way. And in the beginning, they would meet many monsters hunting in packs, like goblins, scaly dogs, snakes with stings, stone dolls, applebees, horned cats, cannon vines, and cutting willow. And silver plates will be the rarest among them. The princess, having heard this information, decided that it was enough for now, and she trusted our hero. Then, turning to Barry and Mazakan, who were standing aside at that moment, she asked them to come over. Barry, moving away from the rock, approached our hero, explained that it wasn't that she liked spending all the magic on our hero, but she had to strengthen his legs, otherwise the whole group would slow down because of him, which is exactly what I did at that moment. Our hero thanked the girl for strengthening his legs, which increases his speed with her magic. As he understood it, the girl used a sailboat, so it's called a spell. Ro will need some time to get used to it. They would skip the remaining floors to the oasis, and so everyone rushed forward on the princess's orders. They ran so fast that our hero was surprised at how fast it was. It felt like he was just being carried by the wind. To which Mazakan-san, who was flying next to him, was subjected to questions, for example, about what kind of magic circle he had just drawn. And he explained that it was a silver oil coating. It's just that our hero had to think of it as an oil that covers his body, despite the fact that it does not cover his back, but the rest of his body will reflect any physical attacks. After hearing this explanation, our hero had never heard of such cool things before. Now he realized that he was swimming all the time. While they were running, they decided to have a little talk. Mazakan-san realized that the guy likes to chat. Then he added to his boy that if he kept talking like that, he would soon run out of steam. Barry, who was running in front at that moment, thought that he should have fallen from fatigue. This Sherpa is a predator. It would have been even better. Our hero saw a tunnel ahead, and Barry, noticing how shrewdly he spoke, realized that the young man now had a calm face. Short added to the princess that they were approaching, 12 overhead and 7 in front of them. Then Barry went ahead, and the princess wanted to warn her. She asked me to leave everything to her. Barry thought to herself all about how our hero would soon have to cry, begging them to rest. With that, she jumped forward and went on an attack on the applebees. Applebees are insect monsters the size of apples. The acid they spew from their butts can easily dissolve meat. Realizing that there were Applebee's in front of her, Barry decided to cut them with her knives. Realizing that if he started whining, she would definitely tell him later that he had been fired by a thick-headed Sherpa, and would do it that way, she decided, still thinking about the young man. Yuika is the central link of the Twilight Sword. They can go through anything with her. At that moment, everyone was fighting with the remnants of bees or other monsters. Addressing the Black Princess, Short saw the monster that was coming at her. Their elegant princess doesn't need a man, Barry kept thinking to herself. And at this moment, the princess, fighting monsters, asked Barry not to stop. Our hero, looking at them, understood that the group did not stop for a second. It was the first time he had seen such a thing. Unfolding the map, he explained that at the next fork they had to make a left turn. When the guys came to this turn, they had to stop, because it was sealed, and they hoped that our hero was not mistaken and was sure of it. The young man added that he was not mistaken. The right path is a dead end. To go down to the next floor, they must pass through the snake corridor to their left. The princess saw that Barry did not trust the young man very much, and then asked her to just believe in him. Short, addressing the Black Princess, added something, and the girl realized that it was a trap. They are advancing from the right aisle, and it looks like they are blocking their path. Apparently, they want to stop them at all costs, looking at the monsters to be in front of them. Then our hero added that they were goblins. Looking to the side, still to where there was a black gap recently, realizing that in order to get to the next floor, they would have to fight these monsters. The princess noticed that it looked like these guys had blocked the right tunnels to prevent people from escaping. The next moment, our hero, seeing that they were goblins, warned his comrades. And then the guys came to his defense. The princess asked Ro to hide behind a rock, and our hero immediately followed her order. The rest of the guys, along with the princess, came forward, and then Short saw that there were about 40 goblins there. Turning to Barry, he offered to go ahead. The girl immediately obeyed him, and so they went to fight. Our hero shouted from behind that there were a lot of inconspicuous humps here, so he asked the guys to be careful. The princess noticed that they could handle it. Our hero saw that Yuika was standing right in front of him and wondered if he really didn't want to go with them because the girl had to worry. The princess added that everything was fine, he should have just left it to them. The next moment, Short, along with Barry, who was advancing on the goblins, took something out of his pocket, and the next moment he attacked the goblins with it. It was a finger bullet, and Short used the shot to deal with several of the goblins at once. One row of goblins was defeated. Their companions, advancing right on them, rushed on. Barry was surprised, and Short added that now it was necessary to move into the cave after them, because the remaining goblins were there, and there were only 13 left, the partner added, continuing to shoot the dead. Barry used the wind dance. Wind dance is wind magic that instantly increases the power of the fighter. Taking her swords, she ran at the goblins, and following the cave in which they were hiding, she found 3, and in the next moment defeated them immediately. Turning to Short, she added that she almost grabbed him, thought that he was also a goblin, and among them she still has those who use their heads. And Short added that they could get in trouble depending on the degree of their ability to use their head. Then Barry noticed that she was taking on those from above, and suggested that Short also attack from below. This is how Barry and Short coped with these opponents, while our hero was waiting nearby, near the wall. He reflected that, thanks to the rather light moss here, he could see at some distance, and their teamwork simply stunned him. Nixon destroys goblins with a shot. At this time, Barry moves to the goblins whose positions are missing a shot. It should be quite dangerous for Barry to be so close to the shot, but the armor completely protects her. He has the ability to repel physical attacks. In this fight, it can be seen that the Twilight Sword uses its individual qualities to the maximum. Really the best team. And our hero, looking out from behind a rock, thought that it was probably incredible to be the chosen hero. And looking at the girl, he knew that it would seem that it was Yuika. Yuika carefully watched her comrades, who were still fighting at this moment. Barry looked at the monsters that were defeated at that moment. She saw a necklace on one of the goblins that caught her attention. She didn't remember killing a goblin with a necklace. It was useless to pretend to be dead, the girl screamed, starting to attack her opponent again. The goblin noticed this and tried to start running away, but it didn't work out. At that moment, one appeared from behind as Barry noticed, but Short wouldn't let him escape. Barry finished with Short, and they went to the princess, saying that they had finished their work. When the princess saw the guys, she then asked Mazakan if he was ready to attack. Mazakan appeared here, talking about the magic circle that was already here, and asked to take this boy with him, knocking on the head of our hero. The young man only agreed. The man looked at him, said nothing, and went about his business. Sitting down in the middle of the cave, he decided that it was good here, and our hero did not understand then what he was going to do. Mazakan, using his staff, explained that he was going to conjure a dirt bridge. The next moment, a passage appeared in front of the guys, and our hero realized that there was still a way. Barry did not understand what had happened and had already run to help, but the next one will be the maze on the 20th floor, as the princess noticed, running forward. And our hero noticed that everything was right. Turning to the princess, he thought that he needed to go back and collect magic cores from goblins, but the girl added that it was not necessary, because it was not the best thing to do. A magic core is a mash formed in the body of a monster. When collecting it, he gets the experience necessary to increase his rank. The princess added that as long as they catch up with her and cover her path, it doesn't matter if monsters show up here. Offering to go on, she had to lead and asked Ro to be quick. Our hero just looked at the girl in silence and had to ask Magic-san about something. He immediately looked at the boy with interest and what he wanted from him. Now our hero has guessed that the Twilight Sword has tactics to preserve Yuika's strength. Magic-san realized that our hero guessed correctly, but he was wondering where he got it from, suggesting going faster on. Our hero just meant that he was not talking about the politics of the team as a whole. The young man explained that he was thinking about building a Twilight Sword, considering that the type of their actions and abilities he thought was a standard action plan with 3 fighters in the vanguard. Short finds the monsters and immediately attacks. The princess and Barry move smoothly and make very strong attacks, and Magic-san provides them with magical support. 2 people are clearing the way Towson. It was Short and Barry. Magic-san uses magic support. At this moment, the princess is left alone. This was the reality that our hero saw. And before that, there was a standard plan. But in reality, everything is arranged in such a way that Yuika simply does not have the space to fight. Our hero, while they were running, added that Yuika hadn't even moved from her place in the last battle. Magic-san just laughed. He thought that the young man was an ordinary boy, but as it turned out, he was very observant. Our hero thanked him for his praise, nodding in response. But Magic added that, however, he had already analyzed its true power. Our hero just looked at him in silence, realizing that he had found out about everything. At that moment, the princess distracted Ro, explaining that there was nothing like that, and our hero then suggested making a short stop. 19, underground floor. When they stopped, Barry lay down on the floor, declaring that she was very tired. The princess added that there is such a thing, because she ran from the very start without the slightest stop, addressing Barry. The princess thought about how she suffered so much in the dungeon, Tyros, and it feels like it's even more than usual now. Barry added that this was not entirely true. She thought that she should show her abilities by imagining how she stands, and our hero bows in front of her, saying that he has no right to be a companion. Then our hero approached the girl, offering her a recovery potion, because she will recover immediately. Then her fantasies were immediately destroyed. Magic-san, who appeared behind him, seemed to add that this boy had an interesting idea. Addressing him, our hero thought that he had some skills. In addition to the benefits, besides flying, he also has a slowdown in aging. Benefit is one of the special abilities. With it, you can find out the nature of an object by touching it directly. It can be used on both people and objects. The princess knew that the gift was personal, but if Ro didn't mind, then she would like him to show and tell what kind of gift he had. Our hero, exhaling heavily, realized that Magic-san already knew about this. The only gift he possesses is the restoration of stamina. Short added that he had never heard of such a gift. And then Barry also wondered what kind of gift it was. Magic-san added that, roughly speaking, it is difficult for him to get tired. And our hero also noticed that this gift is more common in monsters than in humans. Magic-san thought that this was what was needed for a Sherpa. If the Sherpa gets tired and wants to take a break, it will be abandoned. At this point, Barry added that it was completely illogical. But our hero added that this was his gift. The princess thought it was just wonderful. She knew that in the past dungeon they had to adjust their speed somehow to whether the Sherpas were tired or not. They had nothing to worry about this time. This means that Ro can be much stronger with stamina recovery. She's sure everyone wants to see it. Our hero added at that moment that he was just a Sherpa. He didn't understand what they would do if he ran out of steam. The girl just laughed. At this point, Magic-san added that it would be expected. Our hero understood that not everyone was laughing at him. He understood that Magic-san was also exhausted when his stamina ran out, but they also needed food and water to stay fit. They decided that they needed to talk about which floor the next maze was waiting for them. Our hero understood that the girl didn't seem to be listening to him at all, and then he decided to answer her that he was on the 20th underground floor off the main road, so it would be better to go straight to the 24th floor. There they will encounter goblins, moss nobis, slime, poisonous bats, black wolves, chopping crabs, glowing sickles, demonic illusion of light, as well as manticore. After hearing about the manticore, the girl looked at our hero with interest. Then Ro added that she was the king of the local fauna. They meet only on the 23rd floor. The Lord of the Hierarchy is one of the dangerous monsters that originally lived on a lower level, but after a while moved to the 23rd floor. However, she might not be in their way, so they should hurry up. The princess thought about it. She decided that they should have gone there then. Our hero explained that some monsters are gifted, and it was probably better for them to avoid them, but Short added that it wasn't a problem for them. Short noticed that he can determine the number of monsters with the help of the enemy search gift, and if you know their exact number, then it's easier to deal with them. Our hero thought so, remembering how Short had already warned once how many monsters there were, and even more than once. Anyway, our hero realized that they would follow Yuika's suggestion. Apparently, the girl, hearing that he agreed to this, just grinned. So our heroes got to the 23rd floor underground. Moving forward, Ro noticed that Manticore would be here soon. Looking around, he noticed that there was a moss nobu here, so they had to be careful. At that moment, they were walking through a dark place. The ground here was quite wet, as the princess noticed, and Barry seemed to add that the ground even slid as they walked forward. Then, at that moment, she stepped on something and realized that it was slime, but why exactly here, she could not guess. Our hero added that he had heard from other Sherpas that they had seen a moving maze. It looks like the slime is trying to simulate a maze. Then the princess, turning to the Sherpa, hoped that he could use the enemy search on why he walks. But Short explained that he did not think that there was any gift capable of this. Then she wondered if he knew where the slime was, but then Barry added that somehow it was too sticky. As they walked forward, addressing Kurohima, Sama added that there was one monster ahead. This was the manticore, the same manticore that the princess had heard about earlier, deciding that it was their opponent. Just right. The depth is 23rd floor. That's the top of the local hierarchy, as our hero thought, looking at the manticore, which towered standing on the mountain. She has magic, lightning, deals damage to the enemy, causing him to become paralyzed. I wondered if Manticore always acted alone. If that's the case, then she should have been a little stronger than the other monsters living on the 23rd floor, and even level 35 monsters. When the Sherpa was added, the princess decided that this was great news and asked Ro to go hide behind the rocks again, taking out his sword at that moment. Our hero obediently followed her instructions, and he was wondering if Yuika was going to fight this time. Yes, she asked to attack, relying on his poor support, and she and Nook will aim at the head. Barry was supposed to be distracting the manticore. Short agreed with her, and it will be done as the guys decided. Pretending to be stuck, Barry decided to follow this plan. The manticore began to growl, and at that moment, Barry, using the wind dance for both guys, strengthened them, and now the princess had to go into battle with her partner. They started following the plan and split up. According to him, our hero was watching them closely at that moment. Using shadow winds and sail, she was able to jump to the cliff in one fell swoop, as he noticed. At that moment, our hero realized that Barry was probably stuck, and he was wondering how the manticore was going to fight. Barry was standing at that moment, waiting for him to get too close. And the next moment, the princess and Short were watching, jumping out of an ambush right on the cliff to watch the battle from above. The manticore started growling, and at that moment, Short started shooting at it. She easily dodged his shots. At that moment, Barry noticed that the manticore's partner would use lightning magic, and then Magic-san decided that there was nothing he could do about joining this battle. Manticore using a lightning strike against Magic-san's dirt bridge. The manticore started growling again. The next moment, Short started attacking her again, and Barry decided to support him. Our hero is watching all this. He did not understand if Yuika was not going to kill him. Even though it was a manticore, It seemed to him that the Twilight Sword was deliberately trying not to harm him. Based on what Yuika said, using exactly the bad support, I thought they were trying to make the manicure step on the slime. Even a manticore can get stuck in it for even a second, but maybe our hero also decided that, probably, Yuika wants to arrange something at this moment. They understood that nothing was working out for them, and Short added that he thought at least one of her paws would get stuck. The princess thought about it and realized that when Barry ran, it was noticeable that she did not know where to put her foot. I thought the manticore was trying to avoid the slime, albeit subconsciously. Still, getting manticore stuck was a difficult decision. Our hero decided that if he sent her to a place where the slime would simply not be avoided. The slime is trying to escape because of the fact that the manticore has penetrated here, and the only way for the slime to get out of here is to squeeze into a narrow passage through which the manticore simply will not be able to pass. And there should already be quite a lot of mucus left. Our hero decided that the problem was that now he needed to find this passage himself, and even in such a dark and huge area. Then he thought about it, looking at the fact that the moss began to fly away, and there is only one passage leading here. So, the place where the moss flies from must be a dead end. Our hero realized what it means. There is a small gap that is not on the map. Taking out the map and looking at it carefully, if you look at the map from both sides, our hero found a way out. At that moment, Magic Son, watching the young man, realized that Ro was not amiss. He turns to Yuika, shouting that, but still there is a place with a lot of slime where the manticore will definitely get stuck. Pointing to the place that was behind him, he said that it was at the base of the wall. The girl noted that he was right. At that moment, Short explained to the princess that they had not explored those places yet. Barry also didn't understand how our hero could know what was there, as if he hadn't been there yet. Our hero explained that it was not necessary, because they have a map and the experience of the guys. He tells them how their Sherpa is. Hearing that our hero said it so seriously, the princess was surprised at first, and then, just grinning, decided that they could do it. Addressing her teammates, the girl suggested driving the manticore in the direction our hero suggested. They all started doing it together. The manticore began to run away exactly where our hero expected. At this moment, when they were chasing her, the princess needed to find out from Ro exactly where this place was. The young man added that she was right between the rocks. At that very moment, the manticore was already almost in a place where our hero was pointing, and a second later, it began to get stuck in the slime. Seeing this, the princess realized that this was her chance, and now she could attack. Jumping up from her seat, she pulled out her sword and used the phantom needle, attacking the manticore right in the head. The manticore was defeated, and the princess jumped aside. The job was done, and she praised Sherpa Ro for being so amazing. Our hero, only looking at the princess in surprise, thanked him in return, even though she hit right on target. The manticore won't die from just one blow, he thought. Ro, seeing that the manticore stood up, suggested that Yuika turn back, because the manticore is still alive. Then Short asked not to worry him. He realized that apparently the guy didn't know the princess's name. Our hero, upon hearing this, added that he really did not know this. And then Short told him that the princess's middle name was the messenger of the dead spirit. That is, the princess has a gift with which she can control the creatures she impales with a sword. At that very moment, our hero, hearing this, saw that the next moment the manticore knelt before the princess. And then the princess decided to call her Neko, just like an ordinary cat. Our hero, upon hearing this, was very surprised that the girl had come up with such a sweet name for such a harsh opponent. Barry added that it was just the worst name ever, and Short agreed with her. Our hero also did not understand what kind of name it was for such a monster. The princess explained that she was unhappy with the useful ability, and let Neko have to introduce them so they could move on, stroking the monster's head at that moment, the princess added. Since their goal is the 47th underground floor. Turning to Ro, she hoped that he would tell us where to go next, and our hero thought it was worth going to the 25th floor. So the guys did, following the Sherpa who led them through this maze. The victory of the Twilight Sword, along with Manticore, was a sight worth seeing. Nico caught all the monsters he encountered, and Yuika used her gift on them, gradually creating her own army. A day later, dozens of monsters entered there, with whom our heroes moved right through the tunnel. The Twilight Sword monster team, that's exactly what happened. This team fought with their opponents, bumping into one of the monsters on the 40th floor, namely the Minotaur. The Minotaur is a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull, possessing exceptional endurance. He has thick muscles and high impact resistance. It was not so easy to deal with this opponent, but they were able to defeat the Minotaur, as well as the others on their way. At that moment, the Minotaur fell right in front of the princess. The girl used a phantom needle, hitting him in the head, realizing that defeating this monster was not an easy task, and named him Minoran. Along with some of their tasks will be to search for enemy positions, the girl decided, giving them a command. Since the Minotaur was defeated, and the girl gave him a task, our heroes went on. The young man recalled that when they first met in the Sherpa Guild, he said that the Twilight Sword was a group of 4 people strong enough to compete with several groups from the top league at once. This is what they were and planned to be like in the future. Remembering this phrase, when our hero first heard it, he thought it was just unwise. But now he realized that he had no doubt about their power. At this point, Short suggested that we be careful. There were 15 more monsters ahead. There were skeletons of war in front of our heroes. These are monsters with intelligence, wielding swords and shields that move in groups. The princess asked Neko and Minoran to deal with the advancing enemy. Bayou 4, they had to return to the shelter. Nook and Barry had to besiege and weaken the enemies who had escaped from Bayou 5 and Bayou 7. Everyone obeyed the princess, and Barry understood her plan. Everything will be done as she decided, and the guys went on the attack. The powerful abilities of all the members of the group and the destructive power of the monsters undoubtedly make the Twilight Sword the strongest group. The magical core of the skeleton war fell right in front of our hero. Looking at him, he decided that the achievements of the monsters were also in front of him. And monster achievements is the type of equipment dropped from a damaged monster. And our hero decided that he would have to give it all to Yuika, collecting it little by little. In the next moment, the Manticore dealt with the last opponents along with the Minotaur. Their ranks were replenished with 7 skeleton wars. The number of the monster squad was now 17. Looking at all her allies, the princess thought that they should have fixed their plans and slightly cheered up the monsters who were tired after this battle. The girl suggested that everyone stay in their places. The next moment, using his gift of healing, a magic circle soared into the sky. She was looking at her companions. When our hero saw this, he realized that he had never seen such a magic circle hovering in the air above them before. Magic-san said that the gift of the princess is healing. Usually only monsters can use similar magic on other monsters. Our hero realized that Yuika also possesses similar magic, about the same as himself. At that moment, her magic began to heal everyone who had recently been injured. The synergy achieved by the compatibility of gifts or a combination is called Rinka. Simply put, the Phantom Needle is used to manipulate monsters, and healing is used to restore the physical strength of these monsters. And it was the best Rinka. Eureka is the best adventurer specializing in capturing mazes. At that moment, the girl cured all her monsters and decided that now they should rest. Rose seemed to be watching everyone, for example Barry, who was still fine and could still walk, as she believed was the one who had some special feelings for this excellent leader. Short told the princess that she had to do as she saw fit, and he behaved like a royal vassal, and Magic-san added that he didn't care, chuckling. He was the one who behaved like a sunder. And they are all ready to act so that Renka Yuiki is safe. Then they decided that they could go to the next floor. Since they were all fine, the princess commanded, pointing towards the tunnel that was right in front of them. When planning a dive, the most important thing is the level of the squad itself and the corresponding level of each floor. The appropriate level of the squad is called, which is necessary to clean up a certain floor. Given the rank of adventurers, the Twilight Sword squad is level 12. Manticore Grounds, 23rd floor, corresponding level 6, Minotaur 40th floor, corresponding level 13. They enrolled on the floor without any problems. And then our hero remembered that it should be noted in the promotion report that everything took 2 days. Normally, it would take 10 days. Such a case would certainly cause a commotion, he decided. They will set up camp near the oasis on the 47th floor, but in the meantime they will settle in. The current floor was 47, the corresponding level was 15. The monster hunt has been going on for 4 days now. And so, moving through the maze, our team came across new rivals. There was a skill in front of them. Skills have a human torso and a lower body in the form of snakes. They are cruel. They use sharp nails as weapons. He has incredible physical strength. Monsters that live so low that they can destroy an entire squad. Therefore, our hero asked everyone to be careful. The princess explained that they had nothing to fear. 1-6 had to keep them at a distance, she commanded. And at that moment, the skulls began to reflect the attacks of their opponents. The snakes that these opponents had started biting the skeleton's legs, or rather the bones that were there. The princess understood that it was useless, knowing that she wanted to poison them. After all, the poison does not work on her subordinates. Everyone had to break through their flag and prepare for the attack. The skeleton, hearing this, did as his master ordered and went on the attack. Jumping up and pushing off the rock, he began to attack one of the opponents, attacking her from behind. He was able to defeat her. The next moment, all the other opponents scattered in front of them in the same way. Our hero was surprised at how strong it was and realized that apparently it was a gift of influence. Then Short noticed that something was coming down from the ceiling, and Barry saw it and decided that it was probably slime, and it was just huge. At that moment, the slime began to flow down from the ceiling in giant drops, falling right in front of our heroes. But then Ro realized that it was impossible to tell right away because of the darkness, but he recognized this color immediately. It is the Prince of Slugs and can dissolve even metals. The moment he fell in front of them, the princess offered to stay away from him. He pulls enemies inside and kills them, so melee tactics won't work. The princess, addressing the grunts from 1 to 4, ordered them to keep their distance, attack with their copies. Having heard the borrower he was going to do it, Magic was surprised by the Black Princess. At that moment, they saw that the skills had broken through the skeletons. Then the princess offered the grunts from 5 to 8 to take care of them. Our hero understood that the girl uses her monsters, given their characteristics. With such tactics, the whole squad retains its strength. And it was very entertaining. Here, our hero noticed, addressing Yuika, that there was a rather loud echo here. If the battle drags on, other monsters will come to the sound and arrange a carnival here. When she heard about the carnival, the girl thought about it. After all, this is what he calls a situation when hordes of monsters gather in one place, organize a series of long battles. It was necessary to understand which of the gathered monsters would be the most problematic. Our hero thought it was jelly toads in an underground garrison. Then Magic-san noticed himself, explaining that something was coming. Hearing this sound coming from the rock, Barry realized that these were the jelly toads, and it was just an abomination to her. The jelly toad knocks down the victim with a jet of liquid accumulating in her body. It looked like a water cannon, and then the princess asked Neko to move here, use a lightning trap, and paralyze these opponents. The next moment, they paralyzed the toads and they fell down. Lightning magic works well on water monsters. Addressing the Minotaur, she ordered to smash everyone in one go. The Minotaur that appeared next to her went forward and began to deal with the toads. Our hero noticed that he gutted them right into the meat. The princess added that it was much more effective than killing one at a time. And addressing the Lady Black Princess, Short added that 4 more were on the way. After hearing about the 4, our hero realized that it was bad. Addressing Yuika, he added that there are 4 monsters hiding on this floor. Most likely, it was a garrison. They form squads. There may not be a gap in their defense, but they are pretty serious opponents. At this very moment, our heroes were overtaken by a storm. Realizing that it was snow magic, Barry was surprised because she was trembling and the girl was looking ahead. Short realized that the orc and the Slud Prince had frozen. At this moment, they were looking ahead expectantly. Magic-san added that it was a lively carnival, laughing. It was an underground garrison. Lower demons equipped with various equipment thrown at lower levels. They were attacking our heroes, and the princess saw that they had a magician, which meant that they seemed to be able to handle a sword, taking out their own at that moment. Looking at the princess, Barry was interested in what to do with the skills, and then they offered to do them. Barry, meanwhile, was supposed to help the skeletons with her grandson. The guys obeyed and went to perform their duties. The girl suggested to beware of snake venom. The princess was supposed to treat Barry if she was bitten, as the girl asked, and that's what they agreed on. After that, the princess, addressing the Minotaur, offered to go ahead. They had to get their army. The next moment, a battle began between them. When the battle was over, our heroes arrived on the 47th floor, stopping near the oasis. The Sherpa, looking around at all this, realized that this carnival gave her goosebumps. He thought that now it became clear to him why they always had such an unusual loot. The princess added that they managed to get all 4 of them only thanks to our hero. The appearance of stronger monsters was their goal, so they were able to strengthen their armed forces. At that moment, the guys were talking over a cup of soup, which was prepared by a Sherpa. And then the princess thanked Ro because he was very good at cooking and he really liked the soup. Our hero, seeing that the princess was happy, asked her to contact him if anything happened. Short thought that it was simply amazing to be able to eat lettuce so deep underground. Our hero added that they were still moving at a fast pace. I smiled at him. Then he heard the kettle start to boil, and Sarabo's tea was ready. After pouring one mug, he handed it to the princess, suggesting to be careful because it was very hot. The girl thanked him for the tea. And our hero thought that starting with Manticore, the total number of UX subordinates was 50 monsters. From the expression on her face, you can tell that she was very tired and the potion would have helped, but he thought it was worth replenishing her strength with delicious food first. The girl sat and admired how delicious the tea smelled. Meanwhile, our hero decided that the main dish would be smoked meat and that it was very tasty when cut into thin slices. But Marie likes to eat it in a sandwich more, so he made a sandwich and handed it to the princess. When the princess saw the sandwiches, she remembered that his sister had told him this when they were together. Our hero decided that this was not surprising, because they often did this at home. At that very second, the princess remembered our hero's little sister and how they spent time together, as well as how she drank too much once and tormented her all day. Our hero, trying to distract the girl from her thoughts, added that when the princess was sleeping, Marie said that she had a lot of fun with her, and therefore he hoped that she would not mind playing with her again. Upon hearing this girl was delighted and gladly accepted this offer. At that moment, Barry, sitting near the rock and watching the princess closely, saw such a thing for the first time. That cool, awe-inspiring, beautiful princess was able to make such an expression on her face. As she noticed when the girl was smiling at our hero and did not understand what this womanizer was up to. Cursing him, Barry continued to stare at him. Our hero felt the pressure from the back and turned his attention to Barry. But there was nothing to do, and then there was the sound of a pot falling. And then Magic added that his stomach was full, and since the meal was over, it was time to check the drop. And so he offered the guy to spread out on the ground everything they had collected, addressing Ro. Our hero, taking out all the items, agreed with him, of course, and they laid them out on the ground. Looking at all this, Short just gasped, and our hero added that the lower the floor, the more diverse the loot was. At that moment, Barry was sitting nearby, just watching them from the sidelines. Short tried to figure out when our hero managed to collect such a large number of different devices, but Ro only added that he managed to gain time between battles. At this moment, Magic-san was carefully examining the two things that were in his hands. Collecting dropped items, demonic cores, is the job of a Sherpa, because demonic cores give experience. Short added that he said it so calmly, but it was quite difficult to collect all this alone. It was necessary to squat, get up, run around the field for this. The gift of restoring stamina was simply terrible, he decided. Our hero realized that maybe he really thought so, a little embarrassed by his words. Then Magic-san added that half of them seemed useful. Silk dropped from the skill increases resistance to poisons when worn. The sharp fangs of the Ampasben pierce even armor. They are good as a melee weapon. The scales of the earth serpent and their charms keep the reptilian monsters away. Cocoons of the ice moth. Fireproof clothes can be saved from them. The armor and weapons of the monsters are cursed, so it will be hard for the people who use them. The necklace that Magic-san was holding in his hands explained that it turns the owner's necklace into stone, and the knife that he had in his other hand has a throwing effect of half the damage. The princess decided that it must have been created by a dark blacksmith. And by the way, back then our hero heard that dark blacksmiths make high-end equipment from ore mined in the dungeons. Some are even able to forge magical items endowed with gifts and specific effects, and the dark blacksmith is a special kind of lower demons, providing equipment for humanoids living in the depths of the dungeons. Our hero understood that, probably, they would not be able to sell it at an exorbitantly high price. And the princess added that it would be dangerous not to be able to deal with the cursed things. It lowers status, as well as undermines physical and magical powers. That's why all squads throw away such items. The princess knew that they would be of no use on the surface. Hearing that, it was just insulting, because they put their soul into them. At that moment, they realized that this unfamiliar voice was coming from all corners of the cave. After that, Sherpa Ro noticed that someone appeared behind the princess and was trying to attack from behind. What people can't use is for them, monsters, a top-quality product. At that moment, someone attacked the girl and put a knife to her neck. Short and everyone else, seeing that Lady Black Princess had been attacked, started up. There was something behind the girl that explained that such a weapon was very effective for killing adventurers. At that moment, the princess was taken hostage. Barry had already rushed towards the girl and started shouting so that this opponent would not touch the princess. At that moment, the opponent looked closely at everyone who was standing next to him, and at that moment there was some kind of click from Short. The girl was trying to figure out what their opponent was trying to do. Jumping away from the princess, realizing that he was being addressed, the opponent offered to listen. He doesn't have a name, and those dark blacksmiths they just mentioned, he was one of them. He was relieved, because it had been a long time since he had had to talk to people. This strange half-man was wearing a mask, so our heroes couldn't figure out who he was. It seemed strange to Ro, because there shouldn't be monsters who can talk here. According to the records, even if high-level monsters have knowledge of the language, they are taciturn, since the monster is driven only by instinct, and there is no point in talking, especially with people, their victims. It seemed to our hero that this was not the only thing that was strange. The next moment, when the opponent jumped away from the princess, Barry immediately rushed to her, as did Short, who was worried about the Black Princess. But she was fine, not understanding what was going on with the detection skill. Nuku didn't know, because he didn't feel the demonic energy at all. Then Magic-san noticed there that maybe this guy doesn't have it. The monster, standing not far from them, was spinning in place in front of them and explained that if they thought so, they were the guys from the top floor and why they came down here was unclear. He was addressing the monsters that stood in front of him, and the princess offered 1 and 2 to grab him. The monsters started attacking this opponent. He saw that they were doing this, jumped aside, because the next moment, the place where he was standing was cut by a blow and a little more, and he would have been hurt. It was very close, he jumped so skillfully. At that moment, our hero was thinking about how he was walking. A second later, the man who stood in front of the monsters disappeared. Noticing this, Barry and the princess were surprised. And the next moment, he appeared right in front of the princess. Our hero understood that the monster uses teleportation. The monster, having approached the princess, now realized that she was controlling them. The girl was surprised that he was so close, but did nothing. Barry was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. He also felt a murderous aura as he jumped away from her. Of course, he was very scared. At that moment, he disappeared and appeared next to our hero. Having felt this, the young man, of course, was surprised that there was a monster standing next to him, and he was the only one who greeted them. Addressing the young man and slapping him on the shoulder, the monster understood that he had apparently pointed a weapon at him, and he believed that they could become friends. Our hero, of course, was flattered and hoped that the enemy would answer him a few questions. When he heard that our hero was looking for answers, the monster was surprised and called him Wicker. He understood that the guy was a curious guy, and he really liked him. Therefore, the monster began to smile. The next moment, when he started jumping again and moving from side to side, unfortunately, he explained that he also needed to deliver the goods, so he couldn't stay any longer. And he understood that after all they would sink even lower, then they would definitely have a chance to meet again. And he asked me not to let myself be killed and not to remain decomposing corpses. His voice at that moment came from somewhere. As before, it was unclear from where, but their opponent disappeared. All he was saying was that people were so interesting, especially those who had died recently. But the braided one was nothing like that alive. And Ro, after listening attentively to him, remained only with the others in silence. Barry, running up to the princess, began to shake her, hoping that she was okay. The girl explained that everything was fine. At that moment, Short apologized to everyone for not being able to identify the opponent, and Barry, starting to cry, rushed to the princess in her arms because she was very glad that the princess was okay. It was the first time the princess had seen them come across a monster without demonic energy. But there was nothing to be done in such a situation. Our hero intervenes in the conversation, adding that even though they now know that it was a dark blacksmith, there was not a single record of their abilities. And then the princess realized that she had never seen anything like it in other dungeons. The dungeons of Tyras are inhabited by unknown monsters. Clearing the dungeon completely was a risky business. It was a fact, and something of a test of their determination as adventurers. At that moment, everyone was looking at the girl attentively, and Barry only addressed the princess. After all, our hero also realized that the risk level is much higher than they expected. For the princess, it was just entertaining. Her desire to clear the dungeon has only increased, but our hero did not expect such a reaction. And the girl added that it was better what happened to them in 4 days. Monster hunting is a secret passage leading to the lower floors, and she believed that they simply had to go down to the 48th floor. When he heard that the girl was going to go down to the 48th floor, our hero was surprised, because they only agreed on the 47th floor. And then the princess proposed to amend the contract. And when Magic-san heard that, he thought that the youth was so changeable, and that the girl did not want to stop diving after what the monster had done to her. Our hero explained that no one had ever entered the lower floors. And not only about monsters, there is no information about this place at all. It is necessary to return to the surface or replenish supplies before moving on. That was his advice, like the Sherpas. The girl understood all this, but there was nothing to be done. After all, as one of the Twilight Sword Squads, he should have realized that they had the strength to explore the 48th floor. Standing in front of all the monsters she enslaved, the princess offered to our hero. When she said that, of course, it was hard not to think about it. They work well as a team, and their magician is legendary. The sage did not use his attacking magic at all. He just yawned, because explaining that after such a heavy meal, he only wanted to sleep. In other words, our hero understood that they still had a trump card in their head, and, sighing heavily to them, thought that he could already imagine nothing at all, and it was unfair. The girl only apologized to him. She felt that Ro would listen to her decision. Our hero was surprised, and did not understand what this meant. Now he understood how she understood everything. Full speed ahead, full steam ahead. The princess, hearing that he thought so, only laughed. At that moment, looking at the idol between them, Barry pouted and, addressing the guys standing between them, explained that the Twilight Sword could cope with anyone and any time without his help, addressing the princess. But, apparently, our hero, as he realized, had no choice anyway, so he would just listen to Yuika. At that moment, he was standing in front of Barry, who was angry at him, and she reminded him of a cat. The princess did not understand why Barry was behaving, but decided that they would leave it aside and had to move forward into the unknown. The 48th floor of the Dungeon of Immersion in an unmarked place on the map begins. Our heroes, having gathered, moved, and the young man diving, saw a glowing moss, very high, and a lot of mana is concentrated here, adding about it. And this surface will not be the best support. They were moving on through the dungeon at that moment. And at that moment, Barry noticed that now that they were here, he wasn't that much use, and now he wasn't capable of anything. She was very pleased with what she just said, and our hero noticed that she added that it was true. Upon arrival on a floor where no human foot has yet set foot, for them, Sherpas are a common thing to rely on the experience, instincts of adventurers. And the first thing our hero had to do was draw a map. Therefore, holding paper and pen in his hands, using a compass, he began to explore and make drawings. He needed to make notes about his surroundings. They moved forward and realized that it was probably possible to go to the oasis here, as Barry noticed, who went down ahead. Then our heroes continued to descend and found themselves near the oasis. Then Nuka sensed and explained to the Lady Black Princess that there was a monster ahead. Thinking about the fact that he was ahead, he might have been over the oasis. And Barry saw something. Look ahead. The guys found a vine cannon, which was so huge that everyone was very surprised. There may be something here, but I'm sure it was boring, Barry decided, looking at her. After all, they didn't come across any monsters on the way here. Looking at our hero. She bet that someone was still excited about this place. And then, addressing the princess, she also added that since they had found an oasis, they might have reached their goal. The princess noticed that this was the case, so she asked to take a break and return to the surface. Our hero carefully looked at the cannon vine because it was amazing, and he just silently watched it. Barry then suggested cutting down the cannon because the seed of the night falls from it, so that it falls from it and it can be sold at a very good price. It is just used for restorative medicine. Our hero thought that the cannon vine was an ordinary monster plant, and moving forward, he decided that he would take a closer look. She attacks adventurers by throwing seeds from tube-shaped pods at them. Even beginners can easily overcome it. What the plant, which usually lives on the upper levels, had forgotten here, he did not know, and our hero could only guess. But at that moment, when our hero came closer, he realized that the monster in front of them was a cannon vine, and the leaves and tubes were slightly different. And our hero explained that this is not a vine cannon. The guys were supposed not to touch her. But at that very moment, Barry had already cut off a piece of them and realized that something had started to crack. Spikes hit our hero, and at that very moment, looking at his hand, he realized that his strength was leaving him, and he felt that the thorns that started attacking him were poisoned. The next moment, when our hero's strength left him and he was already on his knees, looking forward, he thought only of the guys, hoping that they were okay. But his eyes began to close, and the last thing he saw in front of him was that all the guys were lying poisoned on the ground. The guys were unconscious. Our hero was thinking about how cold he was and that he couldn't move his arms in any way. And the young man couldn't move his legs either, feeling as if his body was dissolving, thinking that this was probably death. After that, he blacked out and did not notice the footsteps approaching him. Having cast a spell, using drops of dark dew and asking to wake up the next moment, someone's hand pulled our hero out of the darkness in which he was. And he realized that this voice was very familiar to him. He heard the princess's voice calling out to him. When the young man woke up, he started and called Yuika. The girl standing in front of him used a healing spell, so the poison had to disappear from the body. She thought she had extracted all the thorns that were in it, but asked to check again, just in case. Our hero thanked the girl for what she had done, but realized that she must have pulled them out with her hands, and could not believe it. But the girl asked not to worry about it. At that moment, he saw that she was bleeding, and he decided to give her healing potions. Our hero began to rummage in his chest, and the girl asked him not to do it now. After all, it seems that the poison spreads quickly through the body. So first we had to save the others. Our hero, seeing what a serious princess she was, decided to help her, and went after the girl. He saw how the oasis had recently evaporated here, and tried to figure out how big the explosion they had been hit by was. If it wasn't for the effect of the silver oil coating, they would definitely have died. At that moment, the princess approached Barry. Seeing that the girl was lying on the ground, our hero, looking at her body, realized that everything looked very bad. Barry managed to protect her eyes, but the rest of her face and her body were completely riddled with spikes. Our hero understood that the princess began to reach out to the girl with her bare hands, suggested that she use tweezers. The princess agreed and began to take these thorns out of Barry. After that, everything was over, and then the girl decided to use drops of dark dew on her spell to cure Barry. After a split second, Barry opened her eyes. After looking at the princess, she stood up, and then the princess made sure that the girl was okay, as Barry pointed out. At this moment, our hero was giving Barry potions, offering her to drink it. She just stared at the ground in silence, thinking about what she had done. Here, Magic-san began to carefully crawl towards our heroes, pretending to be completely tired, turning to the Black Princess, asking her not to forget about him, because if he dies here, he will not survive this loss. At that moment, our hero, looking at him, realized that Magic-san, there was only one thing that hit him. Magic-san added at this point that it was good that he had the gift of strengthening on his cloak. At that moment, the princess also helped Magic-san. While our hero was apologizing to Short for making him wait, the Short was also extracted. And the princess was glad that only the monsters were left. Our hero gave the girl medicines. And then the princess, taking him, decided to order the monster to guard them. Meanwhile, Magic-san, addressing Missy, explained that now was the best time to apologize. Barry only added that the old man only annoys her, and the next moment, realizing how bad the situation was, she decided to apologize to the guys. Ro is the only one who felt the danger, Short added, so Barry had nothing to blame. Healing magic is not subject to many, so if it wasn't for Lady Black Princess, they would have died. And anyway, our hero added that for an ordinary monster plant, this thing had too much power and poison. It could be the floor boss, as he assumed. At this point, when the princess was done with the monsters and heading towards our heroes who were discussing something back then, Short added that they usually believe that plants are weak, but now they will have to change their point of view. At that moment, they heard a dull sound, as if something had fallen. Turning around, they realized that it was Yuika who was lying on the ground, and everyone rushed to her. Barry was trying to figure out what had happened. Our hero added that it must have been because of the poison, but Barry added that it was impossible. The princess has a gift, resistance to the effects of level 3. It is resistant not only to burns and stun, but generally to any impact. It was true that at level 3, resilience could withstand almost anything, but still it wouldn't nullify them by 100. And this means that Yuika did not use drops of dark dew on herself, our hero guessed, addressing everyone else. And that's when Short added that they don't work on the caster. Our hero was surprised by this. Now he understood what had happened. The guy realized that Yuika could die now. Her breathing was getting weaker. If this continued, her life would be in danger, as our hero understood, and he hoped that someone had medicines or potions for poisons. But all the guys looked at him dejectedly. Our hero did not buy such before departure, because for them, the Twilight Sword medicines were superfluous, as far as he remembered, according to the princess. And Barry added that they do not have medicines, as there are a lot of poisons and they are free. They filled the places with potions to restore mana. Now, our hero realized that their plan is completely based on Yuika's physical condition. Yuiki began to breathe heavily at that moment, but as if she wanted to say something, and our hero, who approached her, realized that the girl could not say anything, and her speech became completely incoherent. Then it became clear that the girl's condition was only getting worse, but our hero added that she would soon start raving. After hearing this, Majik-san, who was looking at it from the outside, decided that it was really very bad. And at that moment, he got up and ran straight towards the monsters. When our hero saw this, he realized that Majik-san had even removed levitation. He ran straight towards the monsters who were standing near the exit. There were all the monsters guarding them. He used a ray of banishing light, and it should have worked on them. The next moment, an explosion rang out, after which a huge hole was formed behind the place of the monsters. Our hero was very surprised that all the monsters just disappeared. Ro did not understand why he had to get rid of them, turning to Short San in the hope that he would explain to him. And then he added that if the Lady Black Princess loses consciousness, the effect of the Phantom Game will dissipate. And then our heroes will find themselves surrounded by all these monsters that they have tamed. Even such an overwhelming gift has a weakness. Ro understood that now. At that moment, the princess tried to make some sounds, and Barry, who was holding her in her arms, was addressing her, hoping that she would be able to say something. Our hero then decided that he would be able to treat her, only asked to let him go get a backpack that was standing nearby. When he reached the backpack, the young man found his medicines and various devices there. I wasn't sure if it would help, but he tried mixing some medicines to help the princess. He asked to lay Yuika on the ground horizontally, so he decided to start with a stimulant, and it would be great if the strong smell stayed, the young man decided. He anointed a stimulant near the girl's nose. She started making noises, and then Barry rushed to her, hoping that the Lady Black Princess could hear her, but the girl just continued to breathe heavily. Our hero noticed that her breathing was still weak. He needed a cardiotoxic agent. Having diluted it in one of the plates that he had, he decided that everything was ready, and he needed to mix it with water and give it to her. Also, just in case, our hero decided to clarify whether any of the guys were in a relationship with her, to which they all looked at him in surprise. Barry decided to speak first, but did not understand what our hero was talking about, and then he assumed it was a no. The next moment, he took the medicine into his mouth. Seeing this, Barry was surprised. In the next moment, she realized that our hero was giving the girl mouth-to-mouth medicine. And then Yuika would start swallowing it. She swallowed the medicine. Our hero decided that he needed to give another dose. At that moment, Barry went straight to him and asked him to move away. She took the medicine in her mouth and wanted to do it. But our hero stopped her. After all, there is one trick to make an unconscious person drink medicine. At that moment, Yuika started coughing and Barry couldn't do anything. Short, Ro added, which didn't work this time, and hoped that everything would be fine with the Lady Princess. Our hero understood that Yuika could die at such a pace. After all, the poison weakened her heart, so the remedy should have helped. But he just didn't have it anymore. Our hero began to think convulsively and remembered the candy made from a potion of mental powers. She was created to strengthen her mind and what was supposed to help her stay conscious. Our hero started grinding this pill. And then I decided to give her mouth-to-mouth again. Barry apologized to the princess for feeling guilty in front of her. Here, Short, looking at the young man as he began to swallow the medicine again, hoped that Ro was confident in this medicine. Our hero, taking off his clothes, added that in fact he had no idea, because this was not enough for proper treatment, and it was necessary to return to the surface as soon as possible and find someone who could heal her with magic. After taking off his clothes, our hero wrapped the girl in a cloak and hoped that someone knew a spell that strengthens endurance. Magic can use a couple at a basic level, and then our hero asked to put them on her from time to time. Otherwise, when the effect of the medicine ends, it will be the end for her. Our hero picked up the girl in his arms. And at that moment, Barry added that she could bring the princess. Ro interrupted her. After all, they may have destroyed most of the monsters on the way here, but he is sure that there are still a lot of them left. He and Cernuka had to be prepared for anything. Barry, hearing this, was surprised that our hero was so cold-blooded, but all that remained was to agree, and so they moved forward. At that moment, Nuka-san sensed two monsters, and perhaps the next moment he realized that they were right above them and their number was growing. They were blood cockroaches in front of the guys. Blood cockroaches suck the blood from their still-living victims and lay their eggs in it. They were incredibly fast. Our hero understood that he had to come up with something and asked Barry to conjure a sail on them. The girl immediately agreed. And then it was necessary to get rid of these monsters as quickly as they could. After all, you need to get to the surface as soon as possible. Thinking about the princess and looking ahead, our hero decided. The 48th floor of the dungeon. Our hero was closely watching the condition of the princess, saving the lives of others while suffering unbearable pain. It takes incredible concentration and strength. But he won't let her die in a place like this, clutching the princess tighter, our hero thought. So they reached the 41st floor of the dungeon and stopped to look at the princess's condition. After examining the girl, our hero told everyone that he had given her a dose of sedatives. Because of them, she will be a step away from death, but this will not allow the poison to spread further through the body. After hearing that our hero had subjected her to such a condition, Barry and Nuka were surprised that the girl should have been a step away from death. That's when Magic-san intervened. He added that, after all, sedatives slow down the blood and start clotting. After all, they were originally used as poison. This effect is to block another poison. Magic-san understood everything, and our hero confirmed his guess. They could only wait. And at that moment, the princess opened her eyes. Seeing this, Barry heard the princess asking where they were and tried to ask her again what the girl was talking about. Nuka also saw that the Lady Black Princess was trying to say something, looked at her with interest. Our hero explained to the princess that they were on the 41st floor, going to get to the surface to take her to the healer. He gave her some medicine, but she would have to take more later. The princess just listened to our hero in silence. And then he added that it should be difficult, but he asked them to try to breathe. It all depends on her will to live. The princess repeated his words about the will. And our hero added that, as for willpower, she was the best, as expected, so she should continue to try in the same spirit. At that moment, our hero stood up. Then Nuka turned to him, believing that even though he had the gift of restoring endurance, it was very difficult to carry everything on himself. He suggested that our hero drop his backpack so that they could move faster. Our hero added that he planned to do this when his legs got tired, but it was still a long way off, so he explained that everything was fine. At that moment, he took the princess in his arms, and the girl turned to him. The young man was ready to listen to her attentively. The princess tried to ask him why he was helping her so much. Our hero just stared at her in silence, after which the young man explained that there was no special reason. He didn't understand if it was necessary at all in order to help a person he liked, embarrassing her, even in this state. Upon hearing this, Barry rushed to him and began to curse our hero, because at such a time she did not understand how he could even say such things. Barry was told that if she could be angry, then she still had a lot of strength left. At that moment, our hero was asking Saranuka how he was, and everything was fine, so he asked to replenish endurance potions if necessary. Now they had to leave. The next moment, the princess woke up in bed and tried to figure out what it was. At that moment, the healer standing right in front of her was surprised. It was a clinic, and really didn't like his healing magic. Upon hearing that it was a clinic, the princess looked around, and the healer just grunted and decided that since she could move, she had to leave. The girl, looking at the doctor walking away, apologized for coming here and thanked him. Magic-san was right next to her bed. At that moment, the girl realized that there was still such a feeling that a minute ago she was in the depths of the dungeon. I didn't remember much. She must have passed out on the way here. Magic-san, who was standing by the bed, was very glad that the Black Princess was okay. The girl was also happy about it and asked me to tell her what happened. Magic was of course surprised that the girl was so impatient, even when she was almost dying. Under the guidance of this young Sherpa, they could return to the surface in just a day. Of course, they could try their best to avoid the battle, but it was only possible to imagine running from the 48th floor without bumping into anyone. Only the young Sherpa looked unperturbed in this situation. When they went forward, our hero was interested in where Barry and Nuka were, but they split up when they were walking along a short path. But there's only one way out, so you didn't have to worry about them, Magic assured him, turning to our hero. Then he was apologizing to the Black Princess, and the girl was trying to figure out what Magic-san was apologizing to her for. Magic added that it was his daughter's negligence that almost ruined her. The princess just looked at Magic-san in silence. She asked him not to worry because everything was fine, but Magic added that he could be blamed because this would not have happened if he had been more careful. For example, during the battle with Manticore, Ro helped a lot because he noticed a place with a large accumulation of mucus. And when they arrived at the top floor on which they found themselves, Ro added that it was not a cannon, a vine that almost killed everyone after all. But Ro really helped them a lot. Magic noticed that this was true, and he especially helped the girl. The young man was passing medicines mouth to mouth. Upon hearing this, the princess was only surprised, not understanding what Magic-san was talking about, and he began to smile and then added that Barry even counted how many times he did it, and it was 7 times. Upon hearing this, the princess was surprised and confused. The next moment, Magic-san, as if not wanting to bother her anymore, got up from his chair and decided that in any case he would go and pay the bill, golden always at the same time, a spell. He thought it was a robbery. At that moment, the princess was left alone in the room, thinking only that our hero was giving her medicine mouth to mouth, which meant that she and Ro were kissing. At that moment, the girl realized that as she talked directly to herself, she could still taste the medicines, and she was sure that they were very bitter. After all, who would have thought that her first kiss would taste like medicine? At that moment, Ro-san came to the doctor and hoped that he would tell him how Yuika was. The girl, hearing his footsteps and voice, was only confused. The princess understood that she was living fantasies like other girls, but everything was definitely not as she imagined. At that moment, she was looking at the bed in embarrassment. Our hero came into the room and saw that she had woken up. The girl thought that at least he did it to save her life, so she should have been grateful. However, she had other thoughts. Our hero tried to reach her, and the princess did not react at all to his words. She only thought that there was no particular reason. She wasn't sure what exactly he was trying to say, but she didn't understand how it felt to look at his face now. Turning to our hero, she was very confused, and at that moment the young man was sitting right in front of her. When she saw Ro, she tried to figure out how long he'd been sitting here, and the young man added that he had just arrived. He left all the drop that fell to them during the dive at the Adventurers Guild, and Sir Nuku and Barry are resting in the tavern. Hearing this, the princess calmed down, because the young man spoke as always. But then the girl decided to ask our hero something, and hoped that he didn't mind. Of course, the young man was looking at her with interest. Then she wanted to ask about those words in the dungeon. But at that moment, the doctor distracted them, and our hero turned to the doctor. He added that he couldn't enjoy a drink here while everyone was here, so he asked to get these two out of his sight. Everyone looked at the doctor carefully and realized that they were not welcome here. Our hero did not think that drinking during working hours was the best idea of the doctor, but he only asked the young man to shut up. After this long skirmish, our hero apologized to the princess, explaining that this healer was always like that, but his abilities were exceptional. He saw that the girl could already get out of bed and realized that she could move. The princess noticed that this was the case, and then they decided to leave the hospital. Leaving there, they thanked him again for his help, and our hero decided that he would return as soon as he took them to the tavern. His sister is still with relatives, so she had to be picked up. At first, it was worth showing up to Marie so that she could relax, the princess added, and our hero agreed with her. Then a man came out in front of them. He was very surprised because he saw this noble appearance and realized that they were the Lord Sage. Of course, the Lord noticed that it was so, and everyone else was trying to figure out who it was. More precisely, the princess did not understand what kind of person he was. Then our hero noted that it was Mayor Barramon. He was flattered when they came to that dinner party, addressing our guests. And our hero did not understand what kind of dinner he was talking about. Remembering the dinner party, the princess realized that he was talking about the dinner she had missed because she was with Ro and his sister. He decided that they were diving, probably interrupted something, but the princess added that it was not so at all. Initially, 3 short dives were planned. So far, they have completed only the first ones. Their goal remained the same, to completely clear the dungeon of Tyros. At the moment, they have reached the 48th floor of the previously unknown. The report will be filled out later. Magic-san then added to Mr. Maru that it was the leader of the Twilight Sword. After hearing about this, the mayor now realized that the Lady Black Princess was in front of him, and he had heard a lot about her. She broke the record in such a short time, and it was just incredible. Therefore, he asked to be allowed to invite them to another dinner, and the girl only added that she appreciated his kindness. The princess also explained that her mission would clear the entire dungeon in this world. Our hero, after looking at her carefully, realized that the princess had a reason for this. Then, the next moment, the mayor, seeing the young man next to her, hoped that he should introduce himself. And our hero introduced himself as Ro from the Sherpa Guild. Now the mayor realized that he was the same Ro, because he had heard that he was very talented for such a young age. Our hero, of course, thanked him, but he was not worthy of such admiration as he decided. To which the mayor only understood that the famous heroes of the East and the best Sherpa of the city were in front of him, and it was just fantastic. Then the guys added that they should have rested, and they apologized to him after hearing this. All he had to do was agree. At that moment, Majik-san added that he didn't mind the dinner party, and the whole point was that he just loved luxury. The princess, realizing that he had already agreed to everything, asked Majik-san to leave, and so they walked down the alley together, moving away from the mayor. The mayor was thinking that they had followed a new floor in a couple of days of the first dive, which, of course, made him think about it. And then he came to the Sherpa Guild. Upon seeing Gimu-san, the mayor greeted her. Then she saw little Barry and thought that someone strange had obviously come at such an hour. The mayor understood that Jima-san was treating him like a child again and asked her to stop doing it, because he had been over 40 for a long time. The man exhaled heavily, looking at the elderly woman. That's when she explained that his name was too difficult to pronounce, and that's why she addressed him that way, immediately adding that she wanted to know the reason why he visited them. And at that moment, the mayor just kept silent. Then she realized that he was worried that someone might have overheard them, and added that everyone had already gone home and she was here alone. The mayor knew that Ro was now working with a squad called Heroes of the East. I heard they're exploring the dungeon at an abnormal rate, and they've already reached the 48th floor. At that moment, he noticed that the book on Gima-san's desk looked very complicated, and she added that his words were correct. They are in the guild right now, busy updating maps. But then the mayor realized that what he really wanted to talk to her about. From that moment on, it was necessary to reconsider his attitude towards Ro. She immediately shuddered and began to listen further. She was trying to figure out what Baby Barry was trying to tell her. He turned away and explained that after the death of his parents, the only family for him was his younger sister, glaring at the woman. And then she tried to figure out how he knew about it. The mayor added that he learned about it from Gunji at the bar. Gunji told me that Marie was his sister. That's exactly what he said. Upon hearing this, Jima was unhappy because it was the damn son who told about it and he shouldn't have done it. She was trying to figure out what the mayor was trying to say with all this. But then the mayor there added that he wasn't trying to get her to do anything about it, because the Twilight Sword is still very important guests for them. But when he addressed her, he had one request. Meanwhile, our hero took his sister away, thanking her for sitting with her again. The mayor, addressing Hime-san, asked him very much to protect his sister. Meanwhile, our hero suggested that we go tomorrow and pick up Godzi fruits. The girl was very happy, and they went home. The mayor just didn't understand how much a guy could tarnish his Sherpa pride. The day after the dive at Ro's house, the voice coming from the other side of the door hoped that Ro was at home. And then that Marie realized that it was her sister's voice. Our hero asked Marie to open the door. And the girl ran with pleasure to meet the princess. Marie was so happy. But the next moment, she also saw a man behind her who had such a menacing aura. Marie immediately froze because she was very scared. The princess apologized for being scared and asked not to worry, introducing the man behind her back as her friend. This girl introduced herself as Marinette and said that she was 4 years old. The man just stared at her in silence, and then the princess asked Nuka to introduce herself. He apologized and thanked them for being accepted, introducing himself as Nuku and telling them that they were 31 years old, bowing to the girl. At that moment, the princess did not understand what he was doing because it was not necessary to tell the age. Our hero, seeing the guys, tried to figure out what brought them here, and then the princess began to apologize for being disturbed so early in the morning. After all, she wanted to express her gratitude to him, and Nuku wanted to talk to him about the dive report. Then our hero asked them to pass. Sometime later, Nuku left the princess in the house, counted on her, and the Lady Black Princess, addressing her, asked her to return before sunset, otherwise Barry would get angry again. His princess, exhaling heavily, understood everything he said, and only apologized to Ro for it. She didn't know that the guys were going on a picnic, and so suddenly she showed up. Looking at the table, on which everything was already set up in order to go on a picnic, our hero asked us not to worry about it, because everything was fine. He wanted to discuss the adventurer's report and the Sherpa report, explaining that if they did not get together, they would be called later to sort out the details. The whole point was that they had to be written and confirmed separately. Our hero was very glad that they were able to discuss everything before delivering the reports. After hearing this, the princess now realized that our hero was also worried about this. At that moment, Marie was happily holding her hand, being next to the girl. Princess Remember This understood that Nuku had always been very strict about this, and could not even remember how many times she had heard from him that she should listen carefully. Addressing the Lady Black Princess always added Nuku. He received a lot of support from various organizations and several individual entrepreneurs, not only financially, but also transport for moving from city to city. That is why they had to pay for the trust they were given, especially by collecting information from them. He reminded me every time. He also added to the princess that she should have thought about every word she was going to say, because it was really important. That's how each of their training took place, the princess recalled. Not at all happy. At that moment, the princess was standing, thinking something about Maria. Nervously approaching and addressing her sister, Marie did not understand whether she should join them on a picnic. After hearing this, the princess didn't even know what was possible. Ro noted that this was so because Marie really wanted the princess to go with them. Hearing this, Marie shone so brightly because she was very glad that the girl agreed and offered to go. They went to the forest outside the city. Our hero, as usual, carried everything on himself, and his sister ran ahead, telling him that they were picking godsy berries here, and suggested that she go faster. The princess, keeping up with Maria, asked to be slower because she could fall if she ran so fast. But the girl, not hearing, was already running up to the bush, telling that they could be used to make incredibly delicious jam, and then the princess noticed that Marie knew quite a lot. The girl said that it was so. She knew a lot more, for example, that any rabbit can be sold at a good price, but if you put together those with good meat and those with bad meat, then you can't expect great sales. She also said that the vegetables in the shop opposite their house are always rotten. Her brother taught her all this. Now the princess realized, after looking at our hero, she was very unhappy. And our hero was thinking that he just wanted to teach her a couple of tricks that would be useful in life, and thought that he probably overdid it. When it was over, they all lay down on the blanket, and after that, both girls fell asleep. Our hero was thinking that probably they were both tired, looking at the sleepers. He also remembered that when Yuika was unconscious, Magic-san told him that Yuika couldn't sleep while the Phantom Needle was working, so she hadn't slept a minute during their dive. That's why their team avoids long dives, and they spent almost a week in the cave. Then he remembered how she thought, why is he so worried about her, and helps so much? Our hero replied that he didn't need a reason to help a person he liked, and the young man did not understand why he decided to say exactly that, remembering all these moments. Maybe it was all because, as our hero reflected, it was from the thought of how she was suffering from poison, and that she should rely only on her own willpower. He sensed that she needed a reason to hold on. It was possible to explain everything in this way, but if everything was really like that, then many other words could be found, for example, something about diving. Thinking about all this, he looked at Yuika and thought about it. That she was so beautiful, and he liked her courage when difficulties came along the way, as well as the speed with which she solved them, and the look on her face when she sees Marie. After all, it seemed that she liked children, and that willpower that he saw in the dungeon. Now, he probably understood. Those words came out of his mouth because his heart said so. Talking about all this to himself, our hero watched and remembered the wonderful moments with the princess, looking at the sky. And now he understood everything. He even felt better at that moment. While saying that, he added that his words back in the dungeon were not a lie. Now, everything has become clear. Our hero closed his eyes and thought. At that moment, the princess jumped up from her seat and grabbed him. Then the embarrassed princess looked at the guy, trying to figure out if he was telling the truth now. Our hero, a little embarrassed that she had heard this, of course, added that it was true. Now the princess understood what it really meant to be a confession. The girl began to talk out loud about how it turned out that they were now like a couple with him. She may never have been in a relationship, but she has some knowledge about how it works, so she asked to rely on her. Our hero looked at Yuika and was very surprised, because it feels like their lives will soon change beyond recognition, as he realized. In the imperial capital, where the princess used to live, she had a maid named Tai, and the princess wanted to share what this maid had once told her. While they were talking about everything at the picnic, while Marie was sleeping sweetly between them, the girl said that the maid once asked her to remember her words well, addressing the princess. After all, if she ever finds a person dear to her heart, she first asked to get to know each other better. That's why she asked to be allowed to tell her story. The princess added that, to begin with, the largest building in this city is the Temple of the Mother Earth Galaxy. Our hero noticed that the princess already knew this correctly. The girl continued the story, saying that the headquarters of the Order of the Galaxy is a temple located in the capital. In this place, she grew up as a spiritual priestess, goddess of the galaxy. Our hero realized that this is the reason why the girl is called the Black Princess, and the princess added that this was exactly the case. Black hair and eyes are rare in humans, the princess added, looking at her hair at that moment. When the head priest found her at the statue of the goddess, he received revelations. The goddess said that this child was gifted with her blessing and asked to be raised in purity and purity. Thanks to her, evil will disappear from this earth, returning the place of harmony. The core of the dungeon, which is located in its deepest part, does not have an eternal lifespan, and in general, Yuika added that he has a limit. Upon hearing about the limit, our hero, of course, looked in her direction with interest, wanting to hear the details. When it reaches its limit, it will explode, and this explosion will desecrate the surface, probably with a concentrated magical sensation. This will be the end. Other continents had already met their end, becoming only a lifeless land. And the princess knew, to save that land, you need to get rid of the core before it reaches the limit. To help people in this mission, the goddess endowed them with power. Our hero realized that these must have been the very gifts that everyone knew about. The girl also said that because of the status of a priestess, people hoped that she would become a great adventurer, and apparently she had to accept her fate. It was then that the little princess was handed a sword, offering to fight all the monsters that were waiting for her. Her maid praised the princess and asked her to do her best, while the girl, surprised, tried to figure out what it all meant. The core of the largest dungeon in the imperial capital, called the Endless Dungeon, has almost reached its limit. After such a revelation, she just couldn't sit around. When she heard this from the great priestess, she realized that she should have acted even then. The princess told our hero that not only her hometown, but the whole earth will be destroyed, and people live only once. So being the one to save this world, as she thought, was not so bad, smiling and looking at our hero at that moment. The young man, looking at her, thought about who would save the world, surprised by her stories. If she gets to the core of the dungeon in this town, she will be able to raise her level, which means it will be another step towards the end. And, after meeting him and Marie, she had a great reason to save this world, the princess added, smiling. She looked so beautiful that our hero froze, looking at her and remaining in his thoughts. The young man couldn't even believe it. And who could even know that the man who loved him was a hero who was destined to save the world? And Marie would be very surprised if she heard about it, he thought to himself. Then I decided to add that he would support her in everything, both as an ordinary person and as a Sherpa. The girl, upon hearing this, thanked our hero because it calmed her down from one thought. A few days after this picnic, our hero came back to the guild. The shortcut found on the 48th floor, as well as the discovery of a new oasis, became hot news that quickly spread among the residents of the city. I turned to the master. The man who worked with the maps added that the Sherpa map has been updated. He thanked him for his excellent work and wanted to address everyone else. The man added that from that day on, requests for an expedition from high-class adventurers would definitely increase several times, and asked everyone to keep this in mind. Our hero was thinking at that moment that all these herbs and ores that can be found on an unprotected floor can bring great profit. He is sure that Yuka and her squad can reach the lower floor and get rid of the core. Our hero understood that if he left it as it was, the city would surely be destroyed in the future. At that very moment, everyone began to distract our hero from his thoughts and turn to him. And the young man, seeing his colleagues, was very surprised that they began to bombard him with questions. One of the guys didn't understand how our hero managed to get such a big contract with someone like Twilight Blade. Someone did not even know that they were in their city right now, and this was their phantom. And someone said that he would really like to be a candidate for such a job. That's when Jima-san came out and added that the Twilight Sword had a lot of special requirements for the Sherpa. Baby Ro was the only one who met all the criteria. That's why they chose him for the job. Turning to the master, everyone asked him that he could at least tell them on what date they planned the dive, because they all really wanted to look at them. The thing was, they had heard that their leader was also the beauty on their team, and the legendary sage. Of course, the master knew that they were behaving like this, so he didn't say a word. That's when the old woman added that the Twilight leader doesn't like to make a fuss. The guys at that moment were thinking that that mysterious leader was a beauty who preferred to stay in the shadows, imagining her to herself. Gima-san also added that this is why they came incognito. Smiling and exhaling heavily, she realized that, however, their immersion had caused a stir. And then, turning to Baby Ro, she tried to figure out if he was sure that the heroes of the East would really be able to protect their dungeon. Our hero, looking at her, explained that comparing with all the teams he had to work with, he was sure he believes that they would do the job. Then the old woman, thinking about it, paused and only added that if so, she left with these words. The guys decided that the Twilight Blade was incredible after all, and they needed to drink to them. One of the guys who wanted to drink laughed and led his comrades forward. His partner understood that his friend just needed a drink. At that moment, the old woman turned away and walked away. Our hero, looking at her, was very surprised. The anxiety that arose from the sudden silence, or rather a premonition of something, maybe that Ro felt. At that moment, he was looking at Gimu-san, trying to figure out what she wanted to tell him. After all, amid the joy of the word, there was a whiff of anxiety, but what was the source? It was unknown. And, however, our hero never managed to understand the true meaning of Gima-san's words. Our hero came to Moreau again with Marie, to which Moreau, opening the door, did not understand why our hero came to her so late. Apologizing for this, the young man held out a bag, explaining that the work was delayed and asked to share it with everyone. The woman accepted the gift from him, realizing that it was all the same sweets. It wasn't that she didn't like them, she was just worried about her dental health. At that moment, she asked to hurry up and sit down. She asked to be excused because they had already started the meal. Our hero, passing inside, saw Dasi and also thanked him for being accepted. The same one, eating his meat and addressing Baby Ro, added that he had heard that he had been hired by the heroes of the East and wanted to find out if it was true. Our hero, sitting down at the table, added that this was indeed the case and that he was very happy about it. At the moment, this is the highest paying job he has ever had. Hearing this, Dasi decided that it was just amazing. This monthly dinner, strengthening their blood ties, where our hero came today. At least, everyone pretended that it was so. At that moment, Dasi decided that our hero must have saved a lot of money. Of course, he added that enough of the gold coins Ro thought he had about a couple of ducats or so. In fact, it was a monthly report on the finances of our hero at this dinner. Hearing that the young man had grabbed so much, the man just smiled. At that moment, the children ran out from the table, thanking them for the food. The man began to count something, and the woman, looking at him, did not understand what he was doing, suggesting that he continue to finish his meal. The sane explained that he was just reflecting on the fact that he was doing well before his age. Our hero added that he could only work because they were worried about his little sister. The man said that there are no shelters in this city, so while they are a family, it is their duty to keep an eye on the children. Our hero, looking into a spoonful of soup, apologized again. He thought that every time he took Marie away, he would pay them compensation in the amount of 2 silver coins. However, they never talk about it. And as usual, their bread was hard, and the soup was watery, as the young man thought. As he began to eat, our hero reflected that he could not refuse this, no matter what they were. Since they promised to take Marie away if he died in the dungeon, as a condition they would take everything he had. And, to tell the truth, our hero quite thought that he had left half of his money in Gunji, so that he would give it to Marie when she grew up. He may be a bit strange, but he could be trusted, our hero decided, remembering Gunji. Addressing Marie, our hero added that she had a crumb stuck on her cheek. The girl was very surprised and, taking the crumb, looked at it carefully. Our hero noticed that she took it right and thanked her for dinner. Since Marie had fallen asleep, he decided that he would go home. The man, seeing that our hero was already leaving, of course, pretended that he was very sorry, but said goodbye to the young man, and he left. Of course, when our hero came out, he was thinking out loud that he thought that all they saw in him, looking at him, was a big bag of money. He was apologizing to Marie. She had so many problems when he was working. But Maria only said something about her brother in a dream. Our hero thought it was cute that even in a dream I was thinking about him. The Adventurers Guild. As always, there was noise and uproar. There were a lot of people. And then the girl at the reception explained that anyone who wanted to receive a report on the Twilight Blade dive asked them to fill out questionnaires before they started. And hundreds of adventurers began to hand her papers. They started pushing each other and quarreling about the fact that someone got in front because it was his turn first. Someone asked to hurry up and take his paper, and someone just asked everyone to get in line because they climbed without it. At that moment, the secretary of the Adventurers Guild, Sura, could not cope with all the papers that fell on her. Meanwhile, the secretary of the Sherpa Guild, who came to help with the cases named Anne, offered the girl to look at her because she brought more questionnaires, piling them on the table. At that moment, a lot of adventurers who tried to shove their papers at her stood to one side. As one came up and asked to take his paper, immediately dumped the entire stack of questionnaires that the girl had just brought. That was the last straw, and, of course, the secretary got angry. Jumping up from her seat, she asked them to listen to all of them, namely, so that they would not climb forward, stay in line, and wait for their turn. Anyone who fails to cope with this little thing will be permanently blacklisted. They all immediately obeyed what the girl said, and she was very glad, because they could do what they needed to do when they wanted. At that moment, she offered them to deal with these documents in a flash, taking the papers in her hands, and the girl, seeing how inspired the secretary was, immediately agreed with her. When our hero entered the guild, he saw that there were just an insane number of people here. He came a little late with Yuika, but he thought he wouldn't be able to find her, even here. At that moment, I saw that the girls were working so hard. Anne next to her said that they were just all in business. At that moment, Anne, seeing our hero, decided that he probably came to apply too. Our hero explained that he had come to meet someone, and then an adventurer came up to him, grabbing him by the shoulder, thinking that he was probably doing well. Our hero saw the saga. And he added that he knew that the young man was a guide for the heroes of the East, and this was the leader of the adventurer squad, Devil's Wheel, SAG. Of course, addressing our hero, I suggested that he not be arrogant just because he was hired by big shots. After all, he was just an ordinary baggage handler. 2 men from the saga team came up to him and decided that their leader was right. Laughing at the young man, SAG added that now he asked to tell them everything. They were very interested in what gifts these guys had and how they fight, but apparently SAG forgot all the rules because he was stuck in the middle ranks. Ro would never disclose his personal information, our hero added. After all, in fact, to someone who does not know how to keep his mouth shut, he definitely will not say it. When SAG heard this from the young man, he grabbed him by the breasts. At that moment, Sura asked him to stop. Then the princess came down, trying to figure out what had happened to everyone. Looking at the angry crowd which was cheering for something, the princess could not get through. And at that moment, the guys were talking about what they were betting on Saga and others were betting on Ro. When the princess heard the familiar name, she looked carefully ahead. At that moment, they were talking about how someone had to beat someone or knock someone out. At this moment, the princess was trying to figure out what was going on. She asked everyone to get out of her way, exhausting the murderous aura. When everyone felt this ominous aura behind them, they turned around and saw the princess. Our hero, along with the saga, also looked at it in turn. The young man looked surprised, but only with displeasure. The princess, coming forward, turned to the stranger, explaining that he should take his hands off the dear one. Our hero felt this threatening aura from the girl. SAG just didn't understand what she needed. The princess asked to get her dirty hands off her darling. She was very angry, and her face spoke for itself. Our hero, hearing that she called him dear, was of course surprised. The girl ordered the young man to do it right away. SAG, startled, fell away from our hero and fell straight to the ground. The princess glared at him angrily, exuding her killing aura. Her opponent was looking at her in fright. At this moment, our hero, approaching the girl, added that she should not overdo it, because he was fine. The princess, looking at our hero, was not sure that everything was actually in order. At that moment, SAG suggested to his subordinates to run away from here as soon as possible. Everyone was very surprised when they heard that it was Yuik, the leader of the Twilight Blade. Sura and Anne, seeing this, only looked in that direction. And a girl named Anne noticed that it was much better this way, because the princess was so beautiful and wonderful, so magnificent that she was delighted. Our hero realized at that moment that he had heard something, or the princess had really called him dear. Turning to Yuika, he longed for an answer. And she added that it was true, because they were a couple after all, clearing her throat and blushing a little. Upon hearing this, the girls at the counter, namely the secretaries, were very surprised that they were a couple. Even Sura couldn't believe it looking at our heroes. Then the princess came up to them and apologized for the hype. Sura surprised the girl by assuring her that everything was fine, as was Anne, who was next to her, who blushed and began to scream that she could not cope with her emotions from the fact that the princess herself was in front of her. The princess added that she still had things to do, that she asked her to excuse her, because Nuku would deal with the rest. He is serious and insightful, there should have been no problems. Hearing this, Anne's assistant blushed and, looking at the princess, only agreed with her proposal. Our hero, approaching their counter, told Yuika that they were two of his good friends. Upon hearing this girl was surprised but looked at them carefully, and then Anne bowed and introduced herself. After all, she apologized for not introducing herself right away and said that her name was Sura, and she was the secretary of this guild, and the girl who was next to her, blushing, introduced herself as Anne and said that she was sent from the Sherpa guild. Our hero was looking closely at Yuika. She introduced herself as Yuiku from Twilight Blade and thanked them for taking care of her dear one. At that moment, all the adventurers around them were looking at our hero and the princess in surprise. When Sura heard again that the girl had called him dear, she was very surprised, and Anne was trying to figure out how long the two of them had been dating. And the princess added that this had already been happening for several days, but the confession was even earlier. Laughing a little, our hero stood behind only in silence. Watching this situation, it was clear that the young man was clearly uncomfortable with this. Ro confessed first, the princess added, and Anne, hearing this, thought it was very romantic. Then the princess added that it had even happened twice, and then Anne began to scream with delight because the young man, in her opinion, was so persistent. The guys standing around them were just stunned by what the princess was telling them. Then Anne decided to turn to the princess to understand what kind of dates they went on. But Sura interrupted her, explaining that she was carried away and she had already asked too much, but the girl was so inspired, believing that it was just fine. The princess, who stood in front of her and proudly exhaled, added that this was indeed the case. She suggested that the girls meet later and have lunch together. Anne was delighted. Our hero was apologizing at that moment that they had caused so much trouble when there was so much work to do. But Sura only added that everything was fine. He shouldn't have apologized for that. Our hero at this moment, addressing Yuika, then suggested that she leave, because this whole situation dragged on here for quite a long time. Yuika agreed. Then he exhaled, realizing that the girl would not talk about it anymore because it was very embarrassing for him. After saying goodbye to everyone, he decided that they would see each other later. Anne was so embarrassed and glad that the girl invited them to eat together, so she asked Sura to ask them about everything properly. Sura, seeing how excited she was, added that they would do it later, and now they had to get back to work. When our heroes left the guild, Ro turned very embarrassingly to Yuika, and the girl tried to figure out what the young man wanted from her, calling him dear again. He didn't understand if she was sure she was worth calling him that, because it only caused him embarrassment. The girl only proudly remarked that she was really sure of it. At that moment, she added that Tae called her husband that, so she also wanted to name our hero as well, even though she was supposed to be in the capital right now. Our hero realized that the girl was talking to her maid. At that moment, the princess proudly added that Tai was over 40. She has raised many children, but she and her husband still love each other like newlyweds. She taught her everything about love. The girl also added, for example, that lovers should always believe each other, whatever happens, and also devote themselves to the relationship. And if they are close, then their love will be endless. That's exactly what she was thinking, talking about it with warmth in her heart. Our hero, looking at the girl, tried to figure out if she really thinks that way. At this point, the princess added that she hadn't really been listening so attentively to her endless conversation about love. Still, she did not think that she would ever have a loved one. Now she regrets that she did not listen to her properly, the princess said, pouting. Our hero understood that they did not use the word cute in relation to each other. He didn't think he could call Eureka that in front of everyone. Our hero thought to himself while looking at the girl. At that moment, he saw that Yuika was thinking about something, and it seems to him that Yuika grew up in a rather abnormal environment. She grew up logical and calm. As for the basics, she has practically no knowledge or experience. At this moment, turning to the dear one, she asked to strengthen their bond. Our hero agreed. At that moment, she was holding out her hand to them, and he realized that she probably wanted to hold hands. That's what he thought, of course. But at that moment, the girl took his arm. Everything turned out completely different from what he expected. Our hero was trying to figure out what Yuika was doing, and she called it grappling with her hands. Our hero laughed nervously. The girl did not understand why Darling was reacting like that again. He didn't want to say anything, he just thought it was very much her style. He believed that each pair was probably unique in its own way. But, looking at the girl, her embarrassment, mistakes, and the most ordinary things, the most important thing is that they feel happiness and pleasure at the same time, Ro decided. The princess decided that it would probably be easier for them to walk if they adjusted to each other's steps, and Ro suggested she try it. At that moment, Barry came out of the store, saying goodbye to Pops, believing that his meat was the best of all. The man, saying goodbye to her, also agreed and asked the young lady to come. At that moment, Barry saw the princess and that guy, not understanding why they were together. And the next moment, looking closely at them, she saw that they had crossed their arms and was trying to figure out what else it meant. And then the girl started screaming. Barry was trying to understand why our characters are holding hands, walking in sync, looking at them from the side. At that moment, she called out to the princess and asked her to stop, while running with a piece of meat right in her hands. And at that moment, the cat watching her jumped on the girl. Barry began to apologize to the kitten, explaining that she was in a hurry when she saw that the kitten clearly wanted to taste a piece of her food. But at that moment, the kitten climbed onto her head. And then Barry, looking ahead, realized that she had missed them and was very unhappy about it. Meanwhile, our heroes have overtaken that very clinic, and Ro wanted to ask this doctor something, and it won't take long. Our hero at that moment came forward and tried to figure out where Dr. Kanopi was, introducing himself and reminding that it was Ro. Ro warned him that he was coming in. The next moment, our hero realized that the doctor was asleep and asked him to wake up. Seeing how he was lying all in bottles and completely dirty from the wine he was drinking, the princess, looking around the room in which he was, thought to herself that there were really a lot of alcohol bottles here. Meanwhile, our hero realized that it was useless, because he was passed out. Turning to Yuika, he explained that it was a little awkward to ask her about it, but he asked her to use drops of the dark race on him. The girl immediately noticed that it was not difficult for her and she would do it. The next moment, she used her gift to him and our hero, turning to Dr. Kanopi, hoped that he had heard him. That's when the doctor woke up and heard that it was probably Ro. And then he realized that when he woke up, he didn't have a hangover, and probably the booze was so good. But the princess did not look at him confidentially at that moment, realizing that he did not feel anything at all. Ro needed to make sure that the doctor had made the medicine he asked for. The doctor added that it was not ready yet. Then our hero asked to at least give him the recipe, giving him a bottle as a gift. Since he was bribed with booze, then of course the doctor was ready to do it and asked him to wait for our hero, explaining that he would write to him now. After writing some notes on paper, he explained that it was a prescription for an antidote. Handing over to our hero, he told us that if he could sell, he would have to remember to bring him more drinks. Our hero saw the recipe and thanked him, and with that, they left. After leaving the clinic, the princess tried to figure out what kind of antidote it was. Our hero explained that he was from the poison that the floor boss poisoned them with last time. At the moment, this monster is registered in the dungeon guides under the name of the Vine Bomb. Our hero explained that he gave the doctor a pair of spikes, which he managed to save. He has the gift of analysis, so if he has the source of the poison, making an antidote for him was not a problem. And he also paid him with alcohol. That's why everything was fine. After hearing about the analysis, the princess thought about it. She could never have imagined that she would have such an amazing gift. Remembering this doctor, our hero, laughing, of course, understood what the princess meant. After all, he looked a little scary and was constantly angry. He overestimates prices wildly and even drinks at the workplace, remembering the doctor and how he always talked to him. But our hero wanted to add that he was a good magician in everything, and what he knew about pharmacology, he learned from him. This doctor could be trusted. But the princess again mumbled disapprovingly, realizing that our hero might be mistaken because the princess clearly did not trust the doctor. At that moment, Ro, looking at the piece of paper that the doctor had written down for him, added that after he made several copies of the antidote, he planned to sell it to the Adventurers Guild. The girl thought that he probably thought about it when he saved her, and then our hero decided that it was annoying for her. But she explained that this was not the case at all. She was impressed, because, as expected, it's expensive. At the next dive, they could take his antidote with them. After all, it was wonderful. Meanwhile, the young man suggested that she go home as soon as they bought groceries, and the princess agreed. The next moment, when they passed by the bookstore, she invited him to come here. Our hero, seeing that it was a bookstore, was surprised that the princess needed something here, and the girl noticed that she wanted to buy something. When our heroes returned, his little sister, waiting for them, was very glad that her brother came with his little sister, and our hero again turned to his assistants, thanked them that they took care of Marie, who was already standing and waiting for them on the porch. Then the princess gave her the book she had with pictures, explaining that she had a gift for Marie. Hearing this, the girl was so happy and thanked her sister for this gift, holding the book in her hands. Then the princess, smiling, was also glad that the girl liked it. Meanwhile, our hero decided that he would cook dinner, and the princess could read with Marie for now, and, of course, the girl offered the young man to rely on her because she would do it. So they sat down with Marie and began to read while our hero cooked food for everyone. When they sat down at the table, Marie invited the girl to take the jam from the goji berries that they picked together, and the princess was also happy to always try what Marie offered her. After that, the dishes were washed. The princess took Marie's hand, and she invited her to sleep together, rubbing her tired eyes. Our hero explained that it was time for his sister to go home. At that moment, Marie snuggled up to her. And the princess also added, addressing the dear one, that she did not want to leave. But our hero added that she couldn't stay. Trust between adventurers and Sherpas is a very important component. If the girl stays with him again, then the others will stop trusting him. Upon hearing this, the princess added that she would like to stay until Marie falls asleep. Our hero, seeing that she began to mutter something in her sleep, added that the girl had already fallen asleep and apologized to her. After putting her to bed, the princess wished Marie sweet dreams and closed the door behind her. Our hero decided that he would accompany the princess then, since she stayed with them so late, but the girl asked not to leave Marie alone. Then our hero closes the door behind the princess and adds that they will see each other tomorrow. At that moment, the princess, leaving, looked at our hero, and he looked at her in surprise, in turn trying to understand what the girl would like to hear from him. It was then that the princess explained that Tai had told her that there would be a morning or night when lovers apart should say goodbye to each other. A little embarrassed, looking away, the princess added. Our hero now understood what it meant to say that they would see each other tomorrow would not do. He was trying to figure out what needed to be done then, and he decided to try something by approaching the princess. The princess looked at our hero carefully in silence and was a little embarrassed. The young man suggested that she close her eyes. The next moment, when she closed her eyes, the girl squeezed her eyes shut, and our hero decided that she had been looking at him for too long anyway. And then, after kissing her, he said goodbye to her, wished her good night. A few days later, they began a second dive into the dungeon. They were on the 32nd floor now. As they made their way downstairs, Barry kept yelling at them because she saw everything. They were walking and holding hands in the heart of the city, and she would never believe that it was a date. Speaking of which, she objected. Nuku added that if the Lady Black Princess was in a loving relationship, it could cause problems, and did not understand what the head of the temple would say if he found out about it. Then the girl offered to listen, explaining that lovers are people for whom it is only important that feelings are mutual, and they have already gone through this with her dear one, as the girl seriously stated. So they were definitely lovers. Meanwhile, Rose stood and only silently looked in the other direction, and Nuku and Barry were shocked by what the princess had told them. Barry added that there are always different rumors around this guy, and our hero was surprised when he heard about it. The girl said that she had heard about it from the owner of the liquor store. That's when she suggested reminding them of the requirement for a Sherpa. They must be experienced and outstanding. This guy is a really good guide. But the problem of both two requirements, their Sherpa had to be at least level 5. This guy was a mid-rank level 7 adventurer 4 years ago. However, there was something else. They went down to the 14th floor by a shortcut, which is known only to Sherpas of medium and high ranks. But he deliberately took them to the 13th floor, intended for beginners. There, they slaughtered all the monsters they could, and he took the experience and loot that fell from that floor for himself. This is what newbie adventurers do. Because he does this all the time, and is nicknamed the Floor Eater, At that moment, the princess looked at our hero, understood that he clearly had reasons to do so. The young man, rubbing his head and a little embarrassed, explained that this was exactly what happened. The princess decided that there was nothing to be done then. Hearing this, Barry was surprised that the girl didn't want to tell her anything else. Barry could no longer stand up to the princess, and Nuka, who was standing behind her, asked the lady princess to think about her situation. She was a symbol of the galaxy's trust. Everyone strives to become like her. If rumors spread that we are being met by someone, it will cause people to doubt. According to Nuka, one day someone called himself Yuika's lover, as a result of which a lot of gossip articles appeared. And this caused a great stir, but not only among her fans, but also among the highest levels of the church, the guild, and young ladies of blue blood. It got to the point that the members of the Twilight Blade Squad were forbidden to go out. Then the princess added that those articles were complete fiction. She told her darling that there was one person she was dating, and our hero, after looking at her, only agreed. Nuka, watching this, explained that this was not the whole problem. He asked just in case, but hoped that there was probably a chance that she would break up with him, but the girl added that she would never do that. Since that was the case, he asked her to promise 3 things. First, not to do anything in front of other people, including her, as she called him dear. Secondly, do not go on a date with him and do not sleep at his place without permission. And thirdly, when they are in the dungeon following the usual adventurer-Sherpa relationship, she wanted to stop him. But Nuka added that he did not know if Tae had told her about it, but lovers tend to go on dates, and the date is secret. Hearing that this was said by Tae, of course, the princess, remembering her, realized that it was true, but explained that people were everywhere in this city and her dear sister was at home. She didn't understand where they were flirting. At that moment, Barry couldn't stand it, because they absolutely didn't care about it, and her father, Magic-san, watching this, just laughed at the situation. Magic-san added that young love was so beautiful, just talking made his stomach hurt. At that moment, Nuku, addressing Magic-san, asked not to mock them, to which he added that there was not a drop of fun in the joke. He might have been a priest working for the Black Princess, but they were both adventurers now, as far as he could remember. Magic-san added that this is a dangerous job, during which you can die at any moment. Why not let everyone do what they want? After hearing this from the old man, Barry was unhappy and asked him not to say such things. Our hero, addressing the princess, did not understand what they had to do, hoping that the girl would be able to answer him, but the princess agreed to the condition. But she would keep calling him darling if it was just them. Barry wanted to say something. She was confused and angry at the same time, but Nuku realized that there was nothing to be done and asked Barry to focus on diving. So they continued their research. Just like last time, 2 days later they reached the 43rd floor. There are currently 7 skeletons and 9 orcs under Yuki's command, as well as 5 demons capable of casting magic spells. So the girl suggested that they shoot ice arrows, Ponsuke from 1-7 and Bu from 1-9 to retreat. So they reached the 46th floor, fighting huge monsters. In front of them was a salamander, an innate gift of this species, a fire cannon. The girl used her power against him, and then the phantom needle, taming him. There were 6 salamanders in total, now with them. She decided to name him Sarah, 6. At that moment, Nuku warned the Lady Black Princess that he felt another monster approaching. The next moment, the girl suggested that they all dodge, because they were attacked, and an explosion was heard. It was a furry giant. The fluffy giant, thanks to the fur covering his body, physical attacks against him were, of course, meaningless, and he began to attack our heroes. The princess, addressing Sarah 1-6, asked to test her abilities and make a pile of ashes out of it, after which the monster did so. When the princess saw how well they worked, she asked to focus the fire on his flesh. The monsters followed her every word. At that moment, the girl looked at the giant, realizing that this was probably all he was capable of, and believed that he clearly lacked a fighting spirit. At that moment, she started laughing. Magic-san is watching this, hoping that Ro was okay. Magic-san saw that his lips were trembling, but added that they were lovers these days. Ro thought it was unusual for a person to be so at odds while fighting monsters, even among adventurers. At that moment, the princess, coming down from her observation post, thought that Sarah would be good in the next battles. It is a pity, of course, that Nico and Minoran are not with him this time. The girl offered to build monsters and looked at them, deciding that the list was not bad, so it was necessary to get to the 48th floor. After that, they came to him. But it has not been explored yet, so only one mistake can ruin everyone. There is practically nothing a Sherpa can do, so it was necessary to focus on creating a map. Now they were at the given coordinates that our hero was drawing. But at that moment, a tunnel appeared in front of them, and then there was a splash. And behind them, the same monster that could once talk to them appeared again. Danger was still waiting for our heroes at every turn. Meanwhile, this monster found our hero with pigtails, which made him very happy. He decided to go after them. Still, the people around him scared him a lot, so something strange began to follow them. Our hero and everyone else did not suspect this. At that moment, Rose seemed to sense something and turned around. The princess, noticing this, decided that something had happened. Ro, addressing the girl, hoped that he too felt as if someone was watching them, but the girl didn't feel anything. The princess decided anyway that they should have been more careful. Boo 5 and 6 would be covering their backs. At that moment, Nuku, addressing the Lady Black Princess, noticed that there were 3 huge monsters ahead. The princess decided to deal with them. Cleaning of the 48th floor. Nothing was visible. Our heroes were moving forward, and the girl was trying to make sure that Nuku was sure that they were there, because they didn't see anyone. Nuku knew that he was not mistaken. Ro decided that these monsters might have the gift of illusion or camouflage or something else. With these words, he lay down on the ground and began to listen. He heard something like a muffled grating or rustling, and if you look closely, it's very strange that moss glows only in some places. Therefore, our hero realized that they were underground. Most likely, these monsters had the ability to move calmly through various breeds. Buri was unhappy with this, and was wary of what might come out of the ground, and the princess knew some creatures that fit that description. They are located on lower floors, but each has its own weaknesses. To begin with, they would like to know what they were dealing with. Nuku decided that he needed a bait, and among the monsters that are with them now, there are small and proven salamanders. Then, the princess decided that Sarah 6 should have run through the floor. The guys decided to stay in their place and wait for the enemy to appear, watching who was running forward. Then they did not see that something appeared from under the ground, and the princess saw it coming too. Ovion appeared in front of them. Ovions are unstable to fire and use Sarah's fire cannon. Nuku added that salamanders cannot fight against Ovions at this time. They will become their first target. Our hero had an idea. It is necessary that everyone take a salamander for themselves. With the help of Barry's sail air magic, they will be able to move quickly, and the salamanders will be able to safely use a fire cannon. It turned out that they could become legs for salamanders, and the princess decided that it was possible to try. Taking one of the salamanders, she asked Sarah 1 to come to her. Magic San was trying to figure out if he needed to participate in this, because he absolutely did not like running. Barry added that he had to do this and asked to dispel his levitation. Meanwhile, the princess asked the darling to hide behind a rock. Bunsuke 1 and 2 were supposed to protect him. According to her, Boo 1 and 2 were supposed to be baits. They were supposed to move out, start attacking as soon as the rest of the Ovions appeared. Our hero, watching this, realized that even among the rarest monsters, Ovions are one of the strongest. He hoped this strategy would work and no one would get hurt. The guys had to launch fire cannons. At that moment, addressing the old man, they added that he was behind. Our hero was thinking about fire cannons that were effective. The blacksmith saw our hero with pigtails, addressing him, and wished him a good evening. He was trying to figure out why Ro had so many things. Was he delivering like him or something else, even though it seemed to him that they should be starting to get along? Our hero, seeing the dark blacksmith, was surprised, thinking that he really came at such a time, and noticed that he was doing well. The blacksmith was touched, believing that our hero was a nice guy, and I really answered him. His friends downstairs never answer him. He was very happy to chat with someone. A return connection was always needed in a conversation, as far as he knew. Ro understood what he meant about feedback. In fact, the blacksmiths knew a lot about the surface. For example, Lady Pamela-san at the reception was really hot. She had a beautiful figure. And the kebabs from Sleepy are good with something called ale. Ro remembered that Pamela-san had retired 7 years ago, and she was very frightening when he remembered her. Sura was also new and thought that the guy knows a lot of things. Even if it was a bit outdated, he had information, but he decided not to upset him with it. The demon noticed that this was exactly the case, and in his hands is the dagger of memories. You can see the memories of someone you hurt with it. He learned a lot from the adventurers who died in the dungeon, If the body was fresh, then the memories were still clear, and he was very curious. Each time, he followed them in the hope that they would all die, and he wanted to see their memories. Ro realized that the dagger was made in a workshop. The workshop is on the 52nd floor, as the blacksmith added, and that he is only a delivery man. Whoever makes them has a whole production. There are administrations and even a collection. But among the 4 of them, he is the only one who understands how to use objects better. After hearing all this, our hero realized that it was, of course, wonderful. I noticed to myself that there were 4 dark blacksmiths in total. The lowest floor of Tyros' dungeon should have been on the 52nd or 53rd floor. If there is a workshop on 52, then most likely the lowest floor is 53. There are no other monsters on the lower floor besides the boss. Ro knew that they were on the 48th floor now, and it was easier to plan the pass when you knew how many floors there were in total. In any case, this monster is talkative, and it was possible to see how much he could get out of it, our hero decided. After all, he knew that people were trying to completely clear the dungeon while monsters were protecting them. One day, they will have to fight the dark blacksmiths. You can't be too closed off, but you can't let your guard down too much either. At that moment, we heard a crash, and our hero was trying to figure out what was going on there, as well as the dark blacksmith. The princess, addressing the dear one, invited him to leave. The demon, hearing this, was surprised that he called him that. Ro went ahead and was very glad that they were all right. At that moment, they saw this very monster, and Barry wanted to pounce on him. But Nuku asked to wait, because she would hurt Ro and not forget that he can teleport, otherwise they would end up like last time. The princess was trying to figure out what it meant. Ro explained that he came across him while hiding. He added that there seemed to be a workshop on the 52nd floor, and he thought that this guy knew the lower floors well, for example, where the oases are located. When the princess heard this, she was surprised, and the demon added that he knew everything, because he had been to every corner of this dungeon. Our hero hoped that he would politely, if asked, the blacksmith would show where the monsters were leased. If he politely asks and does it, addressing the guy like pigtails, then of course there is a path to the oasis for everyone, the demon added, rejoicing. But only the leader can give him permission to do this, our hero added. And then they had to do something to get that elevation. Our hero decided to think about it. The path to the oasis would be faster if they could use it as these monsters. He is quite confident in his stamina. But he's going to run away before everyone has time to use the phantom power on him, Barry added. She didn't know how they would stop his teleportation. Nuku added that no demonic energy emanates from him. Enemy detection does not work on him. Ro, addressing him, wanted Nuku to tell him whether he felt the energy of that guy or not. And everyone was trying to figure out what our hero had done, if that was the case, because Nuku felt it. Our hero added that he uses this presence isolation pendant to hide his demonic energy. When Ro told him that they wouldn't trust him until they felt the energy, he immediately gave it away. Everyone was very surprised. He also gave him the shoes. He used them for teleportation, then Magic San wanted to evaluate them. The shoes were moved, and the suspension does not cause any suspicion. Now you don't have to worry that the guy will run away. The princess was surprised that he told all this, even though no one was controlling him. Our hero added that his goal was to talk to someone. If they get along with him, he can tell them more. The girl suggested using it even without the phantom needle, and the probability was high, but they still had to decide what to do, so Ro decided to agree with any decision. The princess decided to do as the darling says. Barry was surprised if she was sure. Yuika decided that she would not allow him to move freely, but if there were any problems, she would use the gift. Ro added that they were given permission, and the demon was very happy. The princess added that he rejoices early. They have conditions under which he can continue to chat with pigtails. Firstly, he follows her orders as a leader, the princess added. He agreed, of course, shaking with fear, and the girl added that for him, he had to answer her, addressing her as ma'am. Secondly, she asked not to attack pigtails and other members of the squad, as well as monsters under her control. And thirdly, no lies. If you violate the conditions, he will never talk to pigtails again. He understood everything, and from that moment on, his name was the Skull. Barry was surprised that she even gave him a name, and now they had to hurry to the oasis. And they all moved forward. Magic San was surprised that the guy just enjoys the monster's trust. This kid was simply unthinkable to him. Nuku was also surprised by this. He thought that the day when Ro would become their enemy, he assumed that he would be the most formidable they had ever met. Traveling with a sentient monster. This is the first time this has happened not only with the Twilight Blade. In the entire history of the adventurers, this case was unique. A skull mask with the desire to have a conversation again. Such a monster shouldn't exist, and I had to be on my guard. Yuika suggested that everyone hurry up, and she asked the blacksmiths to take them to the nearest oasis. He answered as she had taught him, showing them where they needed to go. When she saw the huge passage Barry was pointing at, she was surprised. It was a hole. A path, but not a path at the same time, as the blacksmith explained. The monster added that there were traces of warriors everywhere. Once he tried to pass through there, but in the end he only made a loop. When he finally got there, he just stayed here from where he started, and the person gets lost there, then most likely he will just die. The real way is a beginner's cleft can seem deadly. Magic-san believed that if he didn't know about her, he could just easily overlook her. As they followed the blacksmith, who was deftly making his way through the cave, he added that they should have been more careful, because it was quite crowded here. Our heroes went ahead. At that moment, the blacksmith himself hit his head on something. The princess decided to send her Sarah ahead to sanctify the way, and she hoped that our hero was thinking that they would be able to pass through here. It seemed to our hero that they had to. As they made their way forward, Ro thought it was a rather unusual structure for a dungeon. If the passage is so narrow. To the Lady Black Princess, who was being addressed, as Ro heard that the orcs were stuck, and they had to come in slowly, one at a time. Even a monster wouldn't use this route, the young man thought. At that moment, referring to pigtails, the blacksmith added that the exit was here, showing that he had reached. Our hero replied that there was a way out. They finally got out, and then our hero hoped that the oasis was not far away. The blacksmith added to get ahead. And the next moment, the young man felt something. Barry bumped into him. She was surprised, and the next moment, coming to her senses, added that our hero's luggage was covering the entire aisle, not understanding what happened at that moment. Addressing the princess, she explained that it was just a nightmare. She could go out and look. The princess, making her way forward, tried to figure out what happened to the road, which our hero suggested to Yuika to look ahead. And when she looked forward, like everyone else, they realized that there was a cliff here. She did not understand what this meant and what the blacksmith wanted to tell her with it, but the blacksmith explained that he was not lying. The road continues there, pointing with his finger at the place where the road was. She was near the rock. Our hero realized that he was talking about her. And pointing to this road, the blacksmith explained that he had walked along it many times. Our hero was trying to figure out how he cut through the crevice. He added that it was easy with the help of moving shoes. It was easiest with them. But our hero added that he also had them and was wearing only socks now. The princess decided that perhaps the demons could carry them one at a time. Meanwhile, our hero was thinking about the fact that the blacksmith went without shoes and offered to give him sandals while everyone else was deciding what to do. At that moment, Nuku noticed that probably what the princess had suggested should have worked. Meanwhile, the blacksmith thought that pigtails were an angel, but it seemed to him that the blacksmith was clearly exaggerating, and he was wondering how he found out about the word angel. At that moment, the blacksmith, taking our hero's sandals, was insanely happy. The princess watched them tirelessly. Puta 1 and 2 were supposed to carry the orcs. According to the princess, the others will carry them. Our hero, watching, realized that you can't get on that road if you can't fly. I've never seen anything like it, even on maps. And while he was being carried by two demons, our hero was very interested in the name of this path. Perhaps it was an air bridge, or it could be designated with some kind of symbol. At that moment, when they were flying over the abyss, they heard a strange screeching sound, and our hero added that there was an area of blood cockroaches down there. Barry, of course, was immediately embarrassed, and our hero asked us to try not to look down. At that moment, Barry asked to be moved as soon as possible. When the princess was moved, she looked at the girl who was shrunken and realized that Barry was clearly not okay. They hadn't moved everyone yet, but the skull had to lead them forward. According to the princess, he immediately went first. Puta 1-5 would redirect the monsters and had to follow them one by one, as ordered by the princess. Everyone moved on. At that moment, the blacksmith added that there were two caves on the right in front of them. Having seen a lot of caves in front of them before, the guys realized that these were different paths, and the blacksmith added that it was so. Our hero, after seeing many passages, realized that a later group of adventurers would have a hard time even with a map. Turning to the pigtails, the blacksmith offered to look away. And our hero was glad, and he helped a lot. The blacksmith started laughing and thought that our hero was a special person. Our hero, of course, thanked us for the compliment. At this moment, the princess continued to watch them. Talking to our hero along the way, the blacksmith would like to leave you the sandals. I'm asking our hero if he could have done it. And, of course, Ro agreed, because it could be gratitude and proof of their friendship. At that moment, the princess coughed loudly and offered to come down and take a break. Ro decided to make tea while everyone else was resting. Pouring it to everyone, giving it to everyone, and dried fruits were as a snack. They were sour snacks, but they were still very tasty. The princess, seeing what our hero was offering, decided to take some, and Barry was mad at him again. Turning to Nook and Magic-san, I asked them to take these fruits at this moment too. Magic-san, of course, wanted more, and the blacksmith, watching them, was only nervous. Our hero, seeing that he was looking at them, added that he had something for him. At that moment, the blacksmith, insanely happy, noted that the pigtails were really very good. After seeing what the guy gave him, he realized that it was very wavy, and this is what people ate. After tasting it, he talked about how delicious it was. Our hero suggested that he eat slowly, otherwise he would choke. The princess, of course, was unhappy that the young man was paying all his attention to this stranger. At that moment, Barry, watching her, thought that the princess clearly did not like something, and then noticed that they had to go through the plan. And, addressing Deer, Nuka, and Magic-san, she asked them to come here. Nasha left his friend to eat human sweets and asked the skull to stay here and sit quietly. He treated her the way the princess had taught him. At that moment, she, addressing the dear one, asked, "Answer, was she correct in her reasoning that the lowest floor was 53? Our hero added that, most likely, it was so. The princess said that they were now on the 48th floor. Their next target is the 50th floor. As soon as they find a shortcut, they will return to the surface." When she was sitting next to our hero, she made barely noticeable touches at this moment to Barry, who was insanely jealous of her, trying to figure out how long they would be hanging around with this skull. The princess has already added that they were very lucky that they did not get lost and even managed to take a shortcut. It would be better if he escorted them to the very end of the route. It seems they have a sweetly bitter love triangle here, Magic-san added. So far, Nuku didn't know where to put himself. Then, turning to the dear one, the princess asked to ask him the further path. The young man decided that he would do it and thought about it. Now he understood how to deal with it. By the way, he wanted to ask him about monsters, because I'm sure they'll stumble upon those that aren't in the guide yet. That is, the probability is that they will meet the floor boss. Our hero wanted to learn from him about the bosses. Ro knew that it could be risky, but he decided to try to question the blacksmith carefully so that he would not suspect anything. The princess, confusedly addressing our hero, decided that it was all wonderful, but it seemed to her that he got too close to the skull. Of course, the girl knew that even if it was beneficial for them, but he was too friendly with him, and the young man had to remember that this guy was a monster and an enemy from their rapprochement. For some reason, her heart ached, pointing to her chest, the girl said. Our hero, having looked at her, now understood everything she was talking about. Barry realized that the princess was jealous. Nuku, watching this, didn't know what to say at all, and Magic-san added that he could consider it advice from the leader, and it must have been very funny. The girl, getting up from her seat, added that they had a good rest and offered to continue their journey, addressing the skull, who immediately shuddered and stood up like a soldier. She explained that they were going down even lower and asked to be shown the shortest way. The only thing that interested the skull was whether there would be any more sweets. And our hero, smiling, added that it could very well be. Then the skull was delighted and suggested to hurry up, showing where they should go next. At that moment, our hero noticed the slope. The blacksmith decided that being the most interesting was a lot of fun. Our hero thought that, probably, the blacksmith was supposed to be walking with his comrades, the dark blacksmiths. He thought to himself that he didn't know enough and would just make a sketch while looking at the ceiling that was above him. Then the blacksmith explained that he had invited these comrades, but no one had answered him. Our hero then wanted to notice that he spoke the language well, but he had no one to talk to, and the local monsters did not answer him either, to which he noticed that this was true. They don't answer him. But one of them was singing while he was using the spell, so the blacksmith thought they should understand the language. This was the reason why the blacksmith was constantly trying to talk to this demon. When our hero heard about it, he realized that they were singing, and it must have been high-level monsters who would be able to put meaning into words, and maybe they were even floor bosses. At that moment, our hero looked at the princess, and she nodded to him, realizing that the answer was at least some kind of known. Then our hero decided to find out about his friends, what class they are, to which, of course, the skull did not know about. All the names of the monsters that he knows came from the memories of the people who died in the dungeon. At that moment, he noticed that he had stepped on something. Nuku, addressing the Lady Black Princess, added that a monster appeared among them, and after hearing that you were the only one, the princess decided that it was a rarity for low floors. Our hero realized that the only monster appearing on the floor alone was already known to him. At that moment, he heard the sound of a boulder rolling down. Our hero shouted that it wasn't a monster, it was a killer ball. Warning the guys all about this, our hero added that if he overtook them, then they were finished. In front of them was a murderous ball, filling the entire corridor of the dungeon and destroying everything in its path. Now the blacksmith realized that what he had stepped on earlier was a crushed monster. At that moment, while they were not running, they saw that the passage was branching. Our hero asked the guys to run to the right, but at that moment the blacksmith added that the other passage was wider, then the ball would fit without problems. Ro added that everything was fine, they should have dived into the right aisle sooner. What they did, after which the ball rolled and turned left, but why exactly there, no one knew. Our hero remembered the report that there were a couple of reports about killer balls, but he remembered one of the oldest guides saying that the group had managed to survive. There is a wider passage. Almost no one survived the collision with them. At this point, the blacksmith added that pigtails know a lot of things. Even he, the monster, did not know about this, but as expected from his friend. At that moment, the princess looked proudly at the blacksmith, believing that the guy was amazing. After all, he was her darling. Barry, seeing this, couldn't understand how the princess could compete with the monster. But only they breathed a sigh of relief. A suspicious force was following the group. The whole point was that the carnival on the unexplored floor was silently following them. The enemy is coming. Turning to the dear one, the princess asked the skull to hide somewhere. Our hero, as always, obediently followed the advice of the princess and hid. Turning to the blacksmith, he thought that he probably saw them fighting, but he added that he did not see, and then it was better to close his eyes. Our hero thought that for a blacksmith, a monster like him, it might be quite shocking. In front of them was a slime man, a special ability of their species, physical resistance. Nuku felt the presence of 7, and the princess realized that they had merged into one, thinking that it was all very wonderful. Yuika, calling Sarah 15, asked to climb on the slugs, simultaneously firing fire. Slime monsters are not too resistant to fire, they will roast until they disintegrate. There were even 3 more monsters on the opposite side, and all the Boo had to protect them from behind, also prepare their spears. At the princess's command, they were all ready to attack. When she saw the Minotaur, she decided that they had to attack in order to get them from the front. Ponsky 1 and 2 were on the left, Ponsky 3-4 should have taken the right one. Barry had to use Pita's magic to immobilize the slime man. The girl was ready for battle. Pita 1 and 2 obeyed Barry's orders. Nuku was supposed to be supporting Boo and Ponsky. Puta 2 and 4 obey the orders of Nuku. The princess gave everyone her orders. Nuku agreed with her. And now, as she drew her sword, she decided that it was necessary to bring the carnival to an end. At this moment, the blacksmith, turning to Pigtails, could not come to his senses in any way and asked our hero to wake him up when it would be possible to open his eyes. After all, his eyes were tightly closed. He hoped that it was all over, and he had to open his eyes. But at that very moment, something hit him, and opening his eyes, he saw the monster's head. A second later, the blacksmith fainted. Our hero heard this from Magic San and decided that it would be even better for him. At that moment, he had to write down how the battle was going, our hero thought, watching this carefully. After all, thanks to the fire of the salamander, the slug split up. Barry, with the help of demons, immobilized him. All 7 were overtaken by the phantom needle. The Minotaur is still in service, but the slow-moving slug was surprisingly energetic. At this moment, Barry used a sail on him, and the princess, commanding Poi 17, asked to keep the Minotaur in her tentacles, which they did, grabbing him. In the next moment, all the Minotaurs were captured, and the princesses, using the phantom corner, defeated them. All the monsters had to line up on her orders. The healing of the monsters has been completed. In total, there were 3 salamanders under control. the innate gift of fire cannon, 7 slugs, the innate gift of which was physical resistance. 3 minotaurs have high resistance, especially to direct attacks, and 1 imp that can use magic. After looking at them, Yuika decided that the offensive force was too weak, but suggested continuing. At that moment, everyone was trying to figure out what happened to the skull, and our hero added that he fainted in 1 second and offered the guys a snack. At that moment, he was trying to shake the skull. When he heard about the snack, he immediately came to his senses and added that he wanted it too. Our hero, knowing that he used this trick and he fell for it, explained that first they would get to the oasis on the 49th floor, and the blacksmith immediately agreed. And Nuku noticed that our hero kept him on a short leash. But, of course, watching it in my mind. Our heroes set up camp near the oasis, and while they rested and treated their wounds, they managed to get the garrison, as well as 1 skeleton knight with the gift of explosion. And finally, they reached the final destination of their dive. In front of them was the 50th floor they had come to. The level of the Twilight Blade squad is 12, but the recommended level for the same floor is 16. They may have been saving their strength, but fatigue is rapidly increasing. Ro thought that at the next pass it was worth cooking something light, and he also needed to prepare a potion of health and sanity. Then they heard the blacksmiths begin to reflect. Our hero decided that they probably didn't get lost, but he added that they didn't. The blacksmith just thought he remembered this place. When he came to visit his friend, he often teleported to a place nearby and just didn't notice at first that this was one of the things because he rarely walked here. The princess, hearing this, noticed that it was strange and decided that his friend was not far away. Mostly he doesn't always, the blacksmith added. He was pretty moody, but super huge, so it's not difficult to find him. His face also looks a bit like his own. Our hero was thinking that it wasn't that he knew what his face looked like when looking at the blacksmith. When they came to the big black passage, it was empty. But then the blacksmith added that his friend was still out of place. He's usually here chatting with him. Our hero thought that it was terribly dark here, but then at that moment he heard the sound of hooves. Then there, hearing the sound of hooves, the blacksmith added that if they were hooves, it means that they will soon show up here. Trying to figure out what they needed to be doing, our hero decided that they were friends, but the guy added that you were wrong. They were sworn enemies. One day they tore out his hair and ate it, and his hair was so dear to him, he got them from the dead people he found in the dungeon and attached 1 hair at a time to where they were. The blacksmith added that it took a very long time. He didn't want to go through something like that. Again, he started running away and saying goodbye to our guys. Our hero asked him to stop. He forgot his shoes and his pendant. But then the blacksmith gave, which was a lot of fun, and asked us to leave them to our hero. Yes, and they were cursed anyway, so they will see each other again sometime, the blacksmith shouted to Pigtails, running away. He added that the next time they might meet as enemies. And yet monsters exist to protect the dungeon. Our hero, hearing this, was surprised. And the princess noticed that the skull had run away. Nuku should have realized how many enemies were coming here, and he added that there were 13 of them, and they were all walking in front, and he thought they were moving in one group. By order of Princess Puye, 1-7 had to line up shoulder to shoulder in a defensive formation, which they did, protecting our heroes. Binoran 1-3 had to prepare spears, Guy 1-4 had to cover them from the back. Naisuke and Sarah were supposed to protect his deer and Madzukan. The princess gave all the orders. At that moment, they heard a strange sound, and then the clop of hooves. Barry noticed that they were coming. And then they saw the 2-horned one. As our hero noticed, looking forward, the wound begins to rot from the blow of their horns, and the guys could die. After hearing the warning from the young man, the princess commanded Pu 1-7 to block their path. At that moment, the clattering horses that were running at our heroes saw an obstacle in front of them, but decided to demolish it. They got into the slime, which began to absorb them. They tried to break through it, but so far nothing has come out. And the princess decided that the Puyos were more useful in defense than she had imagined, so they easily caught a whole group of monsters. She wanted to use the Phantom Needle, and decided that her opponent's name would be Yagi 1. Having subdued the others, she decided that this one would be Yagi 2, and so she called them all by name. The Yags from 1 to 113 were supposed to line up. It was then that the princess noticed that they looked more like horses. Here, Nuku explained that, in principle, there were 6 more enemies. They saw skeletons in front of them. Our hero noticed that they don't even have armor or weapons. And then the princess decided that they would try the Yagi on them, and these opponents were just in time. She commanded Yagi 121T to attack the skeletons. What they did by smashing them? The princess, seeing this, laughed and decided that it was a great job. But at that moment, Nuku explained that there were 6 more skeletons in front of them. Our hero, seeing this, realized that they were skeletons again without any weapons. This is their territory maybe, or something like that. The Yagi started attacking again, but the enemies were advancing, and 6 more skeletons followed them. The Yogs from 1 to 13 should have smeared their bone dust, which they did. But the skeletons continued to advance 6 at a time. The girl commanded them to trample them again, and the horses did it again. But then the princess tried to figure out what was going on. It's like they're just following their death. Looking up into the sky, they saw a magic circle. The princess asked Poo-17 to stand up for her. Our hero, at that moment, heard a strange sound. Trying to figure out what it was, the princess and everyone else seemed to be stunned. The princess ordered Yagi to get out of there. Barry noticed that her head was about to explode. After that, when the noise disappeared, the Yagi disappeared with it. There were all the others that were enclosed in a bubble. Barry offered to take a look up. Looking up, the princess shuddered. This pressure, squeezing the heart, takes away common sense, as if the head refuses to think. The gate to the underworld, which opened in front of our heroes. There was a feeling that there was only fear that was not being caught up. In front of them was the king of the dead, born in the despair of a monster, undead of the highest rank. He appeared in front of the guys, and it was he who sent skeletons at them earlier. In the name of the king of the underworld, all living things will perish in darkness. For the first time, the lives of these people are in real danger. Our heroes had to know fear. The devil stretched out his hand to them, bringing a horror that chills the skin. The king of the dead was right in front of them, the boss of the 48th floor. And everyone just froze in anticipation. The only one who pretended and actually drew a magic circle was Majikan-san. He cast a spell using the Moonblade, after which the princess and everyone else started, realizing that something was going on. Then his opponent also used a counterbell. After that, there was a big explosion. Majikan understood what it meant that this opponent could repel the magical attacks that he had just launched at him. This was the signal for the start of the battle. All our heroes pulled out their weapons. Minoran 1 and 2 had to deal with the skeletons on the princess's orders. The Minoran 3 was supposed to remain in reserve. The Puis from the 1st to the 7th had to make their way through the darkness of the king. Our hero, addressing Majikan-san, asked him to use the mana potion that he wanted to give him. While taking the potions, the magician understood that he seemed to be participating after all. He became very curious. The Black Princess had to stay there. He tried to attack them with his magic and borrow the Minotaur for support, commanded Majikan, and Yuika immediately agreed with him. The Gi from 1 to 4 had to stay in reserve and wait there, and the princess asked Deer to go and be behind them. Our hero agreed and asked the guys to be careful. Of course, that's what the girl wanted. She planned for everyone to be fine. Nuku, Barry, and Naisuke had to go ahead. Overcoming obstacles, our heroes moved towards their enemy. He used the gate to the underworld, and the girls saw that he had summoned more skeletons. The princess, addressing Naisuke, asked to deal with them. At that moment, a fight broke out between the skeletons. Then Nuku came into play. Using his throw, he attacked them with his weapon, so they broke through. The next moment, crossing his arms, the King of Darkness used the funeral prayer. And there was another explosion. After which, the princess and everyone else felt how much their ears hurt. It was unbearable. And then the king used desiccation. Majikan understood that it was bad. It was an attack on the soul. If that very soul gets into them, it will die. And he asked the guys to dodge. At that moment, his tentacles were trying to reach our heroes. Barry dodged, but the tentacles steadily followed her, and panting, the girl was a second away from death. And the princess warned her that a skeleton was approaching Barry from behind. Barry was able to repel the attack from behind. Then the princess ordered Sarah to go and help Barry. The salamander moved forward and tried to deflect the skeleton's blows with its fire. The next moment, when the skeleton burned down, the princess and Barry were fine. That's how the girl thanked her. Then she decided to use the salamander, as she had with the Ovians, and the princess asked Sarah to obey Barry's orders. You need to eliminate one of the king's hands and focus on their attack, as the princess screamed. Then they decided that since the princess ordered it, they had to fulfill these conditions. Our hero was standing on the sidelines at that moment, watching the whole battle. Funeral prayer and desiccation, the combination of these two attacks was very dangerous, and if they hadn't attacked from afar, they could have been hit by the attack that wiped out all the two horns. Even if they managed to get close to this opponent, he is protected by an infinitely countless number of skeletons that he summons. If only we could find some kind of gap in his defense, our hero wondered, looking at him. Then Nuka decided to use a new throw, trying to hit him, but the opponent used a contour bell and was able to deflect his blow. Our hero now realized that the mod's opponent could reflect not only magic, but also physical attacks. With such a technique, he was practically invincible. The princess decided that he probably could not reflect everything at the same time and asked to attack him continuously. Nuku, obeying the princess and her orders, began to attack. Barry began to attack from the other side, using a salamander, and asked to prepare for a fire cannon. The target was captured and Nuku used a throw and Barry used a fire cannon. At that moment, their opponent started using the funeral prayer. They were able to attack him, and a strange sound rang out. At that moment, Princess Naisuke was ordered to use the explosion on his arm and attack. But the Skeleton King ordered his familiars to obey, and Naisuke, who were next to the princess, fell to the ground. They resisted and could not get up in any way. The princess ordered the king to be attacked. But at that moment, one of the Naisuke threw down his sword. He attacked the princess by grabbing her by the throat. Barry was surprised to see this, as was Nuku and Mazakan himself. Naisuke was holding the princess, but he was shaking all over, and the girl did not understand why he did not obey her. Our hero now realized that perhaps the whole point was that the king could control the skeleton knights as well. The princess, addressing Puya 7, ordered the capture of Naisuke. He did this, and the next moment, the princess's throat became free and she could breathe. After that, she accepted that they had lost some of their fighting power, but she was afraid that this was simply unavoidable. The Ps from the 1st to the 6th had to continue to advance through the darkness and immobilize the king with their tentacles. The gate to the underworld that the enemy used against our heroes tried to attack them again. And the princess saw that he had summoned even more skeletons. There was no end to them. The next moment, the skeletons surrounded the princess, and the king wanted to use desiccation, but Barry wouldn't let him. Using Salamander and her fire cannon, she attacked him again. But at that very second, Barry's tail was blown away. Seeing this, the princess realized that it was necessary to take care of Guy's skeletons from the 1st to the 4th, and she had to help Barry. At that time, the king wanted to use the gate to the underworld, but at that moment, Mazakan-san came out. Using his magic, he conjured a high-explosive cannon to then attack his opponent. There was a crash, and then there was an explosion, after which nothing was visible. Mazakan saw that his opponent dodged quite nimbly for his size, as he believed, and in any case, it seems that he did not manage to get out unscathed. At that moment, he saw that the king was floating in the air again and wanted to use the funeral prayer. Frieza understood that this was another wave. At that moment, the explosion sounded again, and our hero, who was sitting nearby, understood that the battle had dragged on. Bro, of course, suddenly had an idea, because their usual tactics, as he realized, did not work here. Covering his ears and watching everyone else do the same. In the arena of the Prisoner of Darkness, the battle between the Twilight Blade and the king continued. And it was really amazing that the 6-armed Lord of the Dead was so masterful with the gift and cast magic spells with his free hands. The dance of the Twilight Blade was flooded with darkness, predicting doom. That's when the princess realized that she had to get rid of his hands first. Nuku, whom she had approached while they were fighting with the skeletons, had to pay her request. But he won't let this demon create even one spell. Using the throw, he attacked his hands again, tearing them off. But at this moment, their opponent continued to draw magic circles. Barry used a fire cannon and invited the salamander to attack him. They started burning the rest of the hands, but their opponent was able to roll the Swamp of Darkness spell. The princess ordered Guy 1-4 to get rid of the magic circle, but the next moment, our hero saw that everyone was sucked into the quagmire. We managed to get 3 of them out, the princess noticed, looking at her companions from behind, and at that moment, their opponent wanted to use desiccation to attack them again. The princess ordered to use Gi 4 on him, blizzard and stop the desiccation. As he did so, the next moment, there was another explosion. Then Barry decided to attack him from behind, using the salamander again, her fire cannon. But their opponent was able to dodge, and then the princess realized that he had begun to anticipate their attacks. She was trying to figure out for herself what she needed to do, and using Gi 4, he offered to attack him with a purga again, which he did. And Barry was supposed to use a fire cannon. Barry, using the salamander again, attacked with a fire cannon, but dodged again. The princess had planned it that way. At that moment, the king was imprisoned and captured by the slime man, and when she saw it, she was delighted. Now I realized that he was very slow, so the princess forced the king to come closer. At that moment, the princess, addressing Madzakan, commanded him to attack. Madzakan, using the moonblade, began to attack. The next moment, a counterbell was used. Madzakan decided to use a duplicate. A duplicate is a gift that allows you to copy any spell you have just used, which consumes twice as much mana. Attacking his opponent, he cut off his hands. After seeing this, the guys were glad that they had succeeded. At that moment, Madzakan drank a mana potion that replenishes his supply. He understood that there were only 2 hands, but it wasn't that bad. Our hero understood that he could not use the counterbell 2 times in a row in short periods of time. Madzakan saw through this and immediately took advantage of the chance. But now the advantage is on the side of the Twilight Blade. Watching the fight, our hero realized. The slime man has physical resistance from the gifts, so it will be very difficult to loosen his grip. The girl suggested continuing the offensive. Minoran had to go ahead. At that moment, the king decided to attack them. And our hero realized that it was not a direct attack. The princess is ordering G13 to protect them with Nuku. The soldiers went forward and were attacked at that moment. She realized that she just needed to use them as shields and asked Nuku to use a sledgehammer. He decided to do so. At that moment, she realized that Minoran 3 was not injured, and now it was necessary to destroy the king's right hands. Minoran moved towards him, but the king used the funeral prayer. The sounds of battle rang out as Minoran tried to defeat him. At this very moment, the King of Darkness used desiccation. The princess saw that something was wrong with her right hand. The king began to attack Minoran, and a minute later they both grappled, and the king tore off his head. Barry noticed that the Minotaur was dead, and the princess saw it too. It's a big loss, but he took another hand. Yuika's monsters were fearless. No matter how terrible the attack is, they can neither obey nor retreat, only continue to attack. The gateway to the underworld, which he was summoning again. At that moment, the princess saw that the king was conjuring a hand, ordering Guy 4 to freeze it. He tried to do it. And then Madzakan used the earth fort to attack him. Then he went on the attack, and Nugu using a throw to chop off the growing arm. Barry behind decided to use the union to chop him to pieces. When she went to attack the enemy, she used the spearhead. The edge is a gift that allows you to cut everything that the blade touches. Our hero saw that the 4th arm was about to be chopped off. Meanwhile, the princess was telling Guy 4 to get out of there. They were standing near the circle, but Guy 4 was engulfed in darkness and he couldn't do anything. The slime man fell under the desiccation. Our hero understood that almost all the monsters had fallen. The princess used the leap. It is a gift that allows you to increase your strength for a short period of time. This battle depends on a split second, whether Yuiki's sword, necromancer, or the king's hand attacks first. And there, at the last moment, a smirk slipped across the face of the black-haired adventurer. The girl attacked the skeleton right in the place where the eye should have been, in its skull, with her sword. He wanted to use the gate, but the girl used the phantom needle, after which the opponent was enslaved, and from now on his name was Faces. She commanded obedience to her, the lord of the Shadow Realm. The king of the dead has fallen, and the mighty monster is now serving the princess. It was the boss of the 50th floor. And now that she's finally got him, this picture looks terrifying. For the sake of the Lich, they lost as many as 26 monsters. While doing the calculation, the princess realized that only Naisuke, Puyo, and Sarah remained. I would like to increase their number, but first they needed to take a break, as the princess decided. It was necessary to put the Lich on watch. Darling had to prepare a potion, but at that moment, our hero felt something, as if something trembled under him. He was trying to figure out what it was, and then he realized that the floor was moving. The princess decided that they must have been enemies, but Barry was trying to figure out why everything was shaking so much. Our hero thought that the floor was changing. This is an anomaly that happens every few years. And at that moment, the ground collapsed beneath them. The princess understood that it could be divided as much as possible and asked them to stay close to each other as much as possible. The next moment, Barry and our hero began to fall into the gorge, while the princess remained on the other side. The young man wanted to shout at the girl, and when she saw that the road was falling, she decided that she would save them and wanted to use a spring. But at that moment, she was thrown too. The guys saw that the passage was closing and our heroes were hiding in it. The princess, seeing that Darling and Barry were there, realized the next moment that she had seen them for the last time. Now the gates have slammed shut. Looking at this, the girl couldn't believe it. Her Darling and Barry split up with them. There was that dream again, where Barry was asked about her goal and whether she wanted to celebrate with her friends or give her money to have fun. Hearing this, Barry was surprised. In difficult times, she always dreamed of her last squad. The squad was already disbanded. The one who saved me in that difficult moment was Yuika. When she came to their house, she heard that the Matsukan Dono sage lived here. She apologized for coming to their house suddenly. But if you leave the mazes as they are, the whole world will be infected with magic and fall. Therefore, in order to save him, they had to clear all the dungeons, as the girl said. When she talked about this absurd plan, her eyes shone brighter than anyone else in this world, and Barry wanted her eyes to populate just as dazzlingly. I wanted to stay by her side the longest and give her more help than everyone else. Princess Mary is the only person who gave her hope, her light. At that very moment, she opened her eyes and saw in front of her the face of our hero, who was shining a lantern at her. He was very glad that Barry had finally opened her eyes. Of course, the girl immediately squeezed them shut and asked to turn off the lamp. She decided that he was probably trying to set her on fire in this way, but the hero explained that he looked around a bit and it looks like that passage was formed as a result of a landslide. A straight road with no branches or arenas, and no monsters nearby. At that moment, he looked closely at Barry, who checked her weapon. Barry decided that she needed to find the princess. She should have been somewhere nearby, but our hero stopped her. It was dangerous to move anywhere without thinking. It was necessary to think about how they were separated from Yuika. The others are probably together. And there's a skeleton knight standing there. True, it does nothing, but it is proof that the Phantom Needle is still active. Barry realized that she would have to admit that our hero was right. As long as Nuku-san was with them, they could move around with much more safety than Barry and Ro, so you had to believe in them and wait here. At that moment, Barry sat down and Ro handed her a recovery potion, asking her to drink it. Approaching the skeleton knight, our hero saw that he had lost his arm and shield, but the sword was still with him. Barry was drinking a potion. She decided that he was careless. Then she heard a sound, trying to figure out what had happened. Our hero just took the sword. When Barry saw this, she was very surprised. He thought that his sword might be useful to them, our hero added. The strength requirements are 35 to be able to hold with 2 hands. Ro hoped there wasn't some kind of curse. He tried to wield this sword. Barry tried to figure out what he was doing, and our hero explained that there were rumors that the walls and floor were soft after the collapse, so he started digging. After that, a recess was formed in the wall, and while they could not use it, it crumbles too easily, but when it hardens, this passage will be useful in case of anything. Barry was surprised by what our hero was doing, but he only hid his things and invited Barry to sit down and discuss their tactics. Even temporarily, they were in the same squad with him. If monsters show up, you'll have to fight them so that it's time to discuss stats and gifts. He was a level 7 adventurer, as well as a heavy warrior. His stamina recovery punch is grade 4. When she heard that he was in the 4th grade, Barry was surprised, considering that the highest grade was 3. Based on the materials in the Guild and the Church of the Galaxy, our hero explained that this was the case, but he asked to keep it a secret. He had never said this to anyone before. She should have known about the choice between a gift and a stat boost when her level goes up. Except for level 1, when he got stamina recovery. Each time, he chose to increase his strength. So his strength was 31 now. If you only look at her, then he can compete with a high-level adventurer. He had a level 7, which was considered average. The girl, looking at him, thought that he was a complete fool, but she needed to get her act together. She was level 11. Our hero at this moment, addressing Barry, asked to tell him about his abilities. All this in order to survive and reunite with Yuika. After hearing this, she could only agree with him. If they come across 5 monsters at once, they will not win. But he has an idea how it could be done. He asked me to put a wind dance on his hands. It's a supportive magic that instantly increases strength. If he can increase the strength of his arms, then he will be able to use this broadsword, speaking of the sword that stood next to him. Well, our hero's strength was 31 levels. The requirements for a broadsword were 35. If he does not fulfill the requirements completely, he will be exhausted almost immediately. But then I realized about restoring stamina, and our hero realized that the girl guessed what he was talking about. Our hero decided to take the role of a tank, and she had to hold on to him and attack when she saw an opportunity. He trusted her with his life, our hero remarked to Barry. When she heard this, she was surprised, but agreed. After all, it works both ways, as she thought. After all, there were only 2 of them here. It took a little time, but at that moment, our heroes heard a sound. And then Barry realized that it was a minotaur. Our hero thought that he looked somehow angry, and it was really so. The next moment, they tried to deal with these minotaur, but he hit Barry. But the girl later realized that this was not the case. It was just a shockwave. She knew that it was impossible for them to resist such a monster. But then she saw her legs in front of her and realized that our hero was holding back this opponent. She was surprised that he stood up against the minotaur, a monster with enormous strength. The next moment, the minotaur began to attack our hero, and he asked Barry to help him. The girl, realizing that she was standing idle, began to attack using the harvest. Harvest is a gift that cuts through everything it touches. When she hit him, she realized that she had only inflicted 2 scratches, and was surprised that it was all the damage from the blow, and tried to figure out how strong his muscles were. Our hero thought Barry had done a good job and should have attacked the same place. The girl agreed. And the next moment, the minotaur began to attack again. Our hero stood under his onslaught and his blows. When they caught the moment, he ordered Barry to attack right now using the harvest. She attacked him when she saw that she was doing well. The cuts were deeper this time. Little by little, Ro and Barry's cooperation grew by the second. The fight against the minotaur has become a war of attrition. Then they saw that the minotaur began to scream, but it turned out that he had broken loose. Our hero, seeing that the attack was too harsh, asked Barry to lie down. The next moment, when he was trying to withstand the onslaught of the minotaur's blow again, he heard the crack of his sword, and Barry realized that she needed to help. She wanted to use the harvest, but the minotaur was able to discard her. And she saw how our hero was trying to withstand many blows, and no matter how much the wind dance increased his strength, she did not understand how the young man was holding on, how he was able to stand on his feet. But at that moment she remembered that he had trusted her with his life. Barry understood that this guy believed her in her powers, so she had to break through. Using the harvest, he attacked the minotaur base, causing him even more damage. At that moment, the girl realized that she had succeeded. The minotaur began to fall. Now they realized that the minotaur had run out of stamina, as Barry had noticed. It turned out, and they won. They survived the battle with the minotaur. At that moment, our hero realized that it was the opposite effect. Barry saw that Ro was injured. His hand was bloody. She wanted to cure Ro. And our hero only hoped that Barry was okay. She was fine and wanted to bring him a potion by running into the cave. Our hero thanked her and collapsed to the ground. He was very glad that their plan had worked after all. Such fatigue fell on our hero, as if he had no level 4 stamina recovery in sight. At that moment, Barry, who came running from the cave, saw Ro and shouted that she was bringing him everything she could find. She hoped he could eat it. Our hero, getting up, was ready to drink a health potion after drinking and thanked her. And now the girl decided that it was necessary to treat the wound with a healing ointment, so she asked to take off her cape. And when Barry tried to take it off, it started to fall with her. When the cape fell to the ground, she was trying to figure out what kind of cape it was. The armor. It will be easier. And she thought that this cape was made of iron, because it fell to the ground with such a sound as if it almost broke through. Our hero added that it wasn't all about that. Made of heavy silver but falls out of a rare monster, a silver plate, and even then infrequently. Our hero added that such silver is resistant to all types of magical attacks, but it is many times heavier than any other metal, and it is impossible to work with it, so it is not called a drop, but a complete disappointment. Whether it was really the way he was talking, she didn't understand how he sewed it. Our hero explained that he melted it into plates, put it on a wooden billet, and gave the desired shape with blows. The girl did not understand why he was messing around so much, because there are other types of armor. Ro added that weight doesn't really matter to him, and also thought it would be funnier that way. Hearing this, and treating his hand at this moment, Barry, of course, was surprised. Our hero just laughed. The silver plates mostly reside on the 13th floor, reserved for novice adventurers. That is, because of this, they began to call him the Floor Eater, and our hero decided that perhaps it was so. But he no longer remembered it at all. The Adventurers Guild then gave him the task of exterminating the Owlbear, so he began the descent to the 13th floor. Owlbear is the floor boss loitering in the dungeon. She took the lives of a few adventurers who had just started their journey. However, if she is killed, she will be reborn after half a month. Ro, who was then a middle-class adventurer, tracked the owlbear over and over again. After 3 years, he managed to find the point where she was resurrected. By blocking one of the passages, he diverted the flow of magical elements and got rid of the owlbear once and for all. The 13th floor, which was dreadfully called the Floor of Death, became passable for entry-level adventurers. Upon hearing this, Barry added that there was a bad reputation about him in the bar, that Ro was a devourer of sorts, and that he had taken over this rookie home then, and that he was still a headache. The young man added that, while tracking the bear himself, he accidentally came across silver discs and decided to hunt them at the same time. He could understand why he had shown them that he had taken all the floors for himself. At that moment, he was very glad that the girl had treated him. After hearing this story, she accepted that he hadn't explained much and offered to tell everyone else about it. Then the young man added that the Minotaur could not throw him away with his attack just because he was held in place by the weight of the cape and the weight of the broadsword. Once I asked a friend of his for this idea. She suggested that he stop with these nonsense. Now our hero has figured out what to answer. It was the first time such a chance had been given to him. Barry didn't understand what he was talking about because he was even weirder than she imagined. The young man just smiled. Our hero thought that probably all adventurers were strange, and Barry noticed that he was right. So, having jointly defeated the Minotaur, Ro and Barry began to get along well. The casual conversation, which was rejected by itself, did not last long, because then they heard a sound. It was the chime of the Farina of Desirous, and it was time to turn off the parking lot. The ringing comes from where the Minotaur came from. The Farina of Desirous is a supportive air magic that allows you to hear sounds from a specified location. Our heroes, looking around, realized that an attack was coming at them from above. A stone gargoyle was flying at them. Since their bodies are made of solid rock, physical attacks against them were almost useless. And our hero decided that he would accept her attack on the sword and asked Barry to rest against his back. The girl did so. The next moment, the gargoyle crashed into them. Our hero noticed that the broadsword was cracked. And if such a blow falls on the body, there will be nothing to bury, he decided. At that moment, the gargoyle began to grab our hero and Barry. Seeing this, realized that it was necessary to save him. But then she heard another chime. She realized that a second gargoyle was flying at them. They couldn't even handle one, and there was another one. Barry didn't have time to cast the spell, and Barry asked Ro to take care. The next moment, there was another crackling sound. Our hero hoped Barry was okay. She flew off to the side, and the young man was trying to cope with the gargoyle at that moment. He threw her aside and lay on top of her, under the weight of his body, deciding to kill her like that. He needed to get Barry away as soon as possible, because the escaped gargoyle might return. At that moment, having caught his breath, our hero turned to Barry. She called Ro, believing that the Farina of Desires was ringing again from the right and from the left with her, from all sides quite a lot. She tried to warn him, and our hero asked Barry to hide in a cave. He also asked the girl to put a wind dance on his hands and continue to apply it so that the spell would not dissipate. She wanted to reach out to Ro. At that moment, there were many monsters in front of them. It was a carnival. And so the real tragedy began to unfold. 2 days have passed since the collapse. Yuika, Nuku, and Mazakon spent days and nights searching for their missing comrades. They were barely on their feet, and their anxiety was growing. The group was led by Nuku, who has the gift of detection. Detection finds monsters by their magical flow coming from them, so it's not suitable for finding lost friends, but it's not suitable. He knew it didn't fit, but he could feel the chilling energy and the venomously mocking aura behind him. For the entire 2 days, they failed to find a single clue. The Lady Black Princess and the respected Madzakan had already begun to lose patience, and of course, Nukud even did not know how to tell him that the discovery was not looking for people. Then they decided to go right. And if you continue like this, exhaustion and hunger will do their job, and they will finally run out of strength. We need to find Ro's luggage as soon as possible. At this moment, the princess, following the thinking Nuku, said that if the darling himself was okay, you don't have to worry, because she should have understood everything correctly, since Nuku was only looking for his luggage. Well, of course, he didn't say that and decided that even if they found the things, they couldn't get to the surface without the Sherpa himself. Of course, he would like Ro to be safe and sound. Here, by the way, Madzakan added that their girl also had to be pushed into the background. But Nuku thought to himself that he hadn't said that, explaining that it wasn't true. Nuku added that he and Barry have been fighting side by side for so many years. Of course, he wanted her to be okay too. Meanwhile, the princess decided to go ahead, turning to Masikan, and he agreed with her. Nuku, whom they had left behind, and decided that there was no need to tell them anything. At that moment, something touched him and he was scared, and it was a lich. Nuku didn't understand what was wrong with this monster, because he was patting on the back, and then he decided that he was probably trying to cheer him up. The guys called Nuka, because he was stuck in the middle of the road, and asked him to point the way. He rushed to the guys and added that there were monsters ahead, and there were about 3 of them. Then they saw Cerberus, and the girl, addressing the lich, asked to attack. The lich, using the Swamp of Darkness, attacked the enemy. Then Nuku apologized for the fact that he got confused, because there were not 3 opponents, there was only 1, but 3 heads, and it was Cerberus. The princess added that Enku usually does not make such mistakes, as did Mazakin, who smacked his lips in response. Not understanding what was happening at that moment, the lich tried to stroke Nuka's head. After seeing this picture, the princess decided that the lich was probably attacking Nuku and asked not to dare to do it. Mazakin explained that the lich had only decided to sympathize with their friend. After hearing this, the princess did not understand what he was talking about at all. Then, after looking at him, she apologized to Nuku because she was harsh with him. He asked me not to worry. At that moment, a stingy tear almost rolled down Nuku's face. He thought that the lich understood all the intricacies of human relationships well. As they moved forward, the princess thought that she had not passed through so many mazes that she had already lost count. There had never been a quest in her life that smelled so hopeless. She remembered Barry, with whom they had been friends for so many years. She was always there for her, just like a younger sister who didn't want to leave her sister's side. The princess, of course, wanted her to be fine, but they are adventurers and must be prepared for the fact that they could lose each other at any moment. They met with Ro about 2 weeks ago, and they were lovers for only 10 days. Such a short time is not enough to irrevocably love a person and truly make them a part of your life. The princess understood that she had not yet become so attached to Ro. She had not given her heart to him, so she would be fine even if he was gone. Here, addressing the Lady Black Princess, Nuku explained that there were many islands ahead and it looked very much like a carnival. Realizing that it was a carnival in such and such an isle, she was surprised and thought that probably the guys were there. Madzakan also ran forward, offering the princess to go. She was afraid to find out the truth. Her heart was pounding. But maybe all these monsters were attracted here by the smell of human corpses. Venus lizardmen were standing nearby. The adventurers and Sherpas left without a group have no chance of survival, the princess thought to herself, looking at them. At that moment, they went at the princess, and Madzakan asked her to move away, because he uses the moonblade. He attacked them. At that moment, the princess thought through her tears that if her darling died, she would not be able to bear it. At that moment, Madzakan, taking her thoughts away, asked the princess to go to the left. He used the Unstoppable Slayer on the phantom slime. The princess decided that it was enough to think about his death. She used a leap, but the next moment the garrison was moving forward. She knew that our hero was a first-class Sherpa, so he definitely had to figure out how to stay alive. She continued to fight her opponents. Fan-eared heads appeared in front of her. The girl used the jump, again. She asked herself, or rather her tears, to stop and let her believe that he was alive. At that very moment, there was a big explosion. The girl used the jump again. She was thinking about her darling. A large horn immediately appeared in front of her, and she used a phantom needle to attack it. But all her thoughts were occupied with our hero. At the same time, she could even come up with names for these monsters and decided that this opponent would be called Nukesack. He had to fight the rest of the monsters on her orders. Meanwhile, she continued to think about her darling. She would like to meet him again. At that moment, she saw a strange figure. The girl realized that he was standing in front of her, completely covered in blood. She didn't understand what was going on with that useless sword in Ro's hands. It didn't even look like a sword. The leather cape was covered with smoke, all torn, traces of fire, lightning, ice. She was trying to figure out which monsters were attacking him. The young man had a blank, unseeing look. His clothes were so soaked in blood that they turned dark purple, almost unconscious, but he continues to stand. They haven't known each other very long, so she'll be fine even if she never sees him again. Remembering these words of her own, Yuika realized that it was such a stupid thing because it doesn't matter how much time has passed since the meeting. At that moment, tears poured down her cheeks. She thought that even the 10 days they spent as lovers meant unimaginably much. She found our hero. She thought that her heart already belongs to him. Hugging the young man, she said that it was her, and there was no need to fight anymore. Our hero just said her name. He added that Barry is in this cave. When she heard that, she was surprised. He added that it was a fracture and exhaustion of magical powers, and she urgently needed to be cured. Barry was lying in a cave. She continued to use wind dance on our hero. At that moment, Madzakan, who came to her, explained that there were no more monsters and asked her not to waste any more energy. At that moment, she called her dad. They needed first aid. The Lich was supposed to be guarding the perimeter. The princess only hoped that there was something to stop the blood. And at that moment, our hero thought only that everyone had survived. Yuika offered to heal the wounds and return to the surface together. Looking at Ro with tears in her eyes, she hoped that he agreed with her. 2 days after the Twilight Sword returned to the surface, hospitals for heroes located near the gates to the labyrinth, to which our heroes were taken. Ro was put in a small room for special important patients, located on the top floor. Waking up in his huge bed, our hero was very grateful that they took up treatment here, but he would dream of such a luxurious one in terrible dreams, a whole tub of magic potions and completely undiluted ones. Looking into it when he was bathing in it, our hero couldn't believe it. The mountain of blood-healing potions he drank, so much top-class healing magic. The young man decided that they would want to resurrect the dead. Ro said that he was already healthy and wanted to be discharged, but the doctors did not allow it. According to the doctor, the Twilight Sword ordered him to be cured so that they would not leave a scratch. He thought that if Yuika came tomorrow, then he would. He would definitely ask her to help with the discharge and thought that he needed to sleep. But at that moment, there was a knock, and our hero asked to come in, thinking that it was a doctor. But, addressing the dear one, Yuika appeared from behind the door. She came to visit him and hoped she could come in. He suggested that she not even ask about it. At that moment, she entered in a snow-white dress. He thought that usually a princess does not wear such things and was very surprised by the girl's visit at such a time. She explained that Barry had picked up this dress for soirees, but such places were not hers, and she was wearing it for the first time today. She wanted to know what our hero thought about it. The young man looked at the princess and thought that she was irresistible. The girl was a little embarrassed, but she was smiling, and going into the room, she sat down next to our hero. She hardly rested during the last descent. The young man thought and hoped that the princess had at least slept off when they returned. Standing up on the bed and looking at Yuika, our hero asked. The girl explained that she had lain down for a minute. I woke up a day and a half later, went to see Barry at lunch. She was sent to a hospital dealing with broken bones, as far as our hero remembered. He hoped the girl was okay. Barry herself is not worried at all, but Madzakan is right shaking over her. He made a lot of noise there. She told how our hero did not lose his head, and ordered Barry to take shelter in a cave. The young man, recalling the terrible time, explained that it was so, and the princess added that Barry was very grateful because he saved her life. And she also wanted to apologize for her behavior, as Yuika understood. Upon hearing this, our hero decided to smile, and the girl hoped that he would accept the apology. The young man, of course, agreed, and Yuika was glad. The next moment, getting out of bed, she began to mutter something indistinctly, and our hero thought that Yuika wanted to say something. She looked at him and, rubbing her hands in embarrassment, hoped that she could get in there. Our hero, looking at the princess, tried to figure out where she wanted to climb, and the girl thought that it was probably impossible, but our hero allowed her. but he still didn't understand where Yuika wanted to go. The next moment, she climbed right under his blanket and moved closer to our hero. Of course, the young man was embarrassed, and looking at her dress, he realized that it was expensive, that it would probably crumple if she lay down here. The next moment, the princess, a little embarrassed, wanted to ask how he was feeling. And our hero is unable to take his eyes off the girl, and after looking closely at her neck, he felt how she smelled of flowers. Then the young man met Yuika's gaze, a little confused, and, deciding to defuse the situation, he explained that it couldn't be healthier. He could defeat the Minotaur with his bare hands, so he would like to check out tomorrow. At that moment, he saw Yuika look at him, and the girl then added that since she became an adventurer, she felt scared for the first time. After the collapse that separated them, and until the moment when they met again, her heart did not let go of paralyzing horror for a second. The girl shared with our hero. One by one, excuses appeared in her head under which she could abandon them. It hurt so much that I wanted to rip out my heart just not to feel anything. The girl also added that when she saw that passage teeming with monsters, she immediately imagined finding their corpses. Her darling believed in her and did not doubt her for a second, and she even thought about what to do if they were not left alive. Our hero listened attentively to Yuika while she shuddered all over her body, sharing her story. The girl believed that she was the person who should have believed in him like no other, and apologized to him. Our hero, seeing how she clutches her dress and shakes, realized that she was one of those who clung to her principles to the last. That's why she has such a strong spirit, pure as the night sky. Our hero, hugging her, explained that he does not recognize the love in which he blindly believes. The ability to act, despite the complete chaos in your head, to turn any situation to your advantage. This is one of its wonderful sides, as our hero added. Logical conclusions are one thing. The matter of the aspiration of the heart is quite another. He believed in her, believed in Yuika, and knew that she believed in him too. So she was very good right now. He loved her like that. Hearing this, Yuika looked at our hero with tears in her eyes. Embarrassed, she leaned against him. And again calling him dear, the girl kissed our hero. Of course, the young man was very surprised by her outburst. The next moment, he wanted to call her by name, but the girl, continuing to call him dear and a little embarrassed, seemed to hint to him that conversation was not needed now. And they continued their kisses. Yuika was very insistent towards our hero. Then Ro himself, emboldened, decided to touch Yuika because she was wearing a dress that exposed her legs, so he even touched her legs. And of course, the girl shuddered at this because it was very unusual and embarrassing. After that, they looked at each other with burning passion, breathing heavily. The young man was smiling at the girl. She only called his name, and he was thinking that things were bad because he had no idea how to take off this dress that she was wearing now. And Yuika was clearly unable to help him. He thought about how many buttons or knots were there, and he didn't see any, deciding that maybe they were hidden under the frills. At that moment, the girl touched her finger to his mouth, and she remembered that he had said that at such moments you can behave like a naughty kitten. She started rubbing against him, and our hero thought that he really looked like a kitten. At that moment, distorting her words, she asked to be gentle with her. Our hero, looking at her, realized that the girl was repeating herself and starting to behave like a cat. Maybe it's worth asking Tay about it sometime. At that moment, he looked at Yuika and kissed her gently and put her to bed. After that, our heroes gave themselves up to love. When morning came, the clothes were lying on the chair next to the bed, and the girl who opened her eyes came across our hero, who had long since woken up and, smiling, looked at Yuika, wishing her a good morning. She wished him good morning too, a little embarrassed. And the next moment, when they got dressed, they left the hospital very quickly after leaving the ward. She was angry because if pretending to be a kitten was not necessary at all, why didn't you tell her about it yesterday? He also apologized, embarrassed, explaining that the girl tried very hard and it was nice. But at that moment, the princess squeezed his hand, indicating that no more words were needed. She thought it was out of order. It was really hard for her. Our hero added that, for example, he couldn't take off her dress at all, so they weren't even. But the girl, looking at him shyly with tears in her eyes, believed that his awkwardness and Yuika's awkwardness were not exactly the same thing at all. At that moment, she started to get angry. Our hero, seeing this, explained that her vitality was draining away, and it didn't make him any worse for anyone. And if two people share something embarrassing with each other, the relationship only gets stronger. Ro just knew how to calm the princess down, and she decided that since that was the case, now it was his turn to tell something embarrassing about himself. Of course, the princess understood that yesterday's behavior could not be interpreted any other way. A dress she didn't usually wear, perfume, and the fact that they shared a bed. In the first descent and in the second, they miraculously managed to survive. But there is no guarantee that their next trip will be the third and everything will go smoothly. She didn't want her feelings for her darling to consist only of regrets. When they finally found them, she breathed a sigh of relief. And then I saw what an unbroken spirit of an adventurer he was hiding to himself and got worried. The dear one has a family for which he is ready to do anything. She has a duty to destroy the dungeon. They will not be able to make the most expensive sacrifice of love. But this is the hand that was in her hand. She decided that she would not let her go. Our hero stopped the girl and explained that there was a house of relatives around the corner who were looking after Marie. It was as if she knew that. And at that moment she saw a girl crying with a book in her hands. The princess ran to Marie to calm her down. The girl turned to her sister, and then there the princess realized that she had that picture book in her hands that she had given her, hoping that the girl would tell what happened to her. Marie began to apologize because the book was all tattered, and tears were pouring from her eyes. The princess asked not to do this and not to apologize, because Marie was not to blame. Then the door opened, and the boy began to laugh, asking if the girl was still crying, considering Marin a crybaby. It was Michi, who was 10 years old, and Colin, who was 12 years old. Then they saw that Marie was not alone. There was a princess and our hero next to her, so the boys decided that they had to run away. The princess was very unhappy, realizing that it was those two who tried. And crying, Marie explained that this was so, because she was sitting in a corner to read. And then, when they saw her book, they realized that it was expensive and began to take it away from her, believing that the girl had not yet grown up. Then the door opened, and the woman saw that he had deigned to return. Seeing Moreau, Ro was surprised. She held out her hand to him, asking absolutely nothing. I thought they were making a fuss. Upon hearing this, our hero told her further what had happened. She understood that it was stupid to take the children's word for it, because who knows what really happened. Or perhaps she thought he wanted to contradict her. Our hero took out coins. He explained that everyone just saw that Colin and Michi were teasing a crying Marie. That's why he asked her to ask them not to do that anymore, giving her the coins the next moment with these words. Then the door slammed in front of him. Our hero just stood silently near the store. The princess was trying to figure out why he wasn't telling them anything at all, and our hero added that they could talk about it when they returned. He greeted Marie, hugged her, and added that it was time to go home. The princess explained that the dear one could not give up like that. When they arrived, she didn't understand why he just let them go. It was necessary to demand compensation, the girl thought, hugging Marie, and she screamed. The young man asked me to calm down. He looked at the book, seeing that the pages were dirty. For now, he will wipe the cover properly, and then they will take it to the master so that he can glue them. When Marie heard this, she was very happy. Our hero added that they would do just that, and they would go tomorrow. At that moment, the princess thought that he was asking those people to look after Marie every time. And he added that it was so because Moreau is his only relative. The money our hero paid would be enough for a kindergarten, which Marie would definitely be better off in, as Eureka thought. But, alas, this is not found in the city, despite the fact that it was built specifically for adventurers. Our hero added that children left without a family either starve to death or end up on the black market. Yes, they don't have the warmest relationship, but if something happens, at least Marie will be safe. She thought about it, because after all, those people weren't very good. But then she was overcome by doubts. The deeper the group descends, the more danger the Sherpa is exposed to. The lives of Darling and Marie are threatened by none other than Eureka herself. Our hero asked Eureka not to worry about it. He made the decision after properly assessing all the risks. And they paid him in such a way that they would not jinx it. Still, they were close, not only as Sherpa adventurers, but at this point she wanted to add that they were in a relationship. Our hero explained that it was only his family's business. Upon hearing this, Eureka realized that she had been pushed, or rather shown where her place was, so that she would not take on responsibility. At this point, our hero explained that, to be honest, he planned to move to a big city so that Marie could go to school, so he gradually saved money. The young man was stroking Marie at that moment, sitting on a chair, and added that if you add the reward that the guys would give him for the next issue, you would get just the right amount. and Marie can finally live without worries. The princess added that if the problem was money, then she could give it to him right now. But at that moment, she looked at our smiling hero. The girl realized that they were undoubtedly dating, but this did not give one the right to rely on the other in everything. He did not need alms. He would not accept it. That's what his quiet smile told him. Now the girl understood everything. It's up to you to decide what to do. Most likely, he follows this motto, taking responsibility for Marie, and then they will start a new life. The girl realized that she was not in this future, which she wanted so much. Yes, last night they were burning with burning feelings, and they definitely love each other. And yet it was only his family's business. So he doesn't consider her to be someone close, someone who can be trusted with family problems. And she loved him so much, but she was still an outsider. The girl realized that she would not let him just run away. She believed he was motivated by the best of intentions. But turning to the dear one, she said that his words offended her to the depths of her soul. At that moment, she began to take off her gloves. The girl decided that her darling could marry her. She showed our hero her bare hands. Upon hearing that he could marry her, Ro looked at her, confused, and thought that maybe it looked like a challenge to a duel. And the girl thought that this way her darling's problems would not be his, but their common ones. She was determined and watched Ro carefully, although she was embarrassed to the core, but she believed that they could solve everything together.